Hey guys, how's it going? Matt from Foulball Productions here. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope that you're doing well. I'm doing great. Thank you. Welcome to another episode of the MFer Cocktail Lounge. This is my impromptu FNT follow-up show. I mean, it's not really an FNT follow-up show, but this comes after I'm done watching FNT, and most of my fans and people that watch this also watch Friday Night Tights. It seems like it's kind of a version of that. Welcome. I hope that you're doing great. Hail Lord Thoth. Good to see you, my friend. Glad you're here. I'm hoping to do a stream soon with Lord Thoth. Well, we could talk about the most recent episode of The Expanse, because I noticed that he didn't like it. I didn't either. And we had a chat on Jake's channel the other day. Hail JakeD. If you guys aren't subbed to JakeD, go ahead over there, check him out. We were talking on Tuesday about the most recent episode of The Expanse, and I didn't like it. I thought it was super intersectional. I thought it had all these kind of feminist representation where it didn't belong. It just felt like the show's tone had changed. Its agenda had changed. The reason I loved it so much had just kind of vanished. And I feel like I was vindicated a little bit tonight on the last few minutes of Friday Night Tights, because a lot of people in the chat in our stream didn't seem to see it my way. Thought I was jumping at ghosts, as it was put. And Gary seemed to share my sentiment, see that he didn't like it. And also, more than that, he pointed out that James S.A. Corey, I can't find the tweet, but I guess they tweeted that, we hope people don't find out how woke and feminist our show is, kind of mocking people that might not want to see that kind of representation or that sort of agenda in their TV. And I just think that, boom, fucking called it. You know what I mean? Not to brag, not to be, boisterous about it, but yeah, man, it's there. I knew it was there. I saw it. And I think we're also, sensitive, and we love our stuff so much that when it shows up like that, it's kind of like you don't want to believe it. You want to believe, no, I like this. It's not there. Or maybe if you didn't catch it, maybe you kind of feel sensitive to someone pointing it out. But I'm telling you, it was there. It was definitely there. And from what Gary was saying about the way the book is written, and how in this entire season they're going to finish the season halfway through the 5th book, and they're abandoning all these other storylines, and they're dragging out these moments, for reasons known as self-serving agenda. Lord Thoth, I feel the same way you did. FPB? What does FPB mean? I'm not sure what that means, my friend, but yeah, I knew you would. I knew you would, because you're a sharp guy. And I wanted you, and I wanted to hear come here and talk about it with you, man. I still intend to. I still would like to. I still like to break down all these moments, because it's stuff that I guess it's maybe I have a bigger insight into it, having lived in Hollywood and living around people for a long time and reading so many scripts and stuff like that are outside of just what gets produced. You just see the tone and the tenor of these things that get made. I'm so sensitive to it. I could smell it. And when you have the situation with the belt and Marcos and the new prime minister or whatever, and Delgado and all that, and the argument to go blow up the space station is one that's contentious at best. It's not like I'm sitting there, being oh, that's a great idea. They should definitely go blow up all the belters. Oh, FPB, that's an abbreviation for Foulball Productions. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. But when I'm not sitting there oh, they should definitely go destroy that space station. No question. What kind of obviously this is what they should do, right? And then they, the show has the women stand up, and I'm oh, wait a minute, really? Is this a barbaric action? It's no. Oh, everybody was just kind of maybe that's sort of a gray area. But then they highlight it, then they show it, they tell the story all the women stand up and one token guy, but really it was a female rebellion against aggression. And it was You asshole. Yes, I recognize that was an overly aggressive thing. Like, I don't have like this stupid male monkey brain who can't see it. Like, I saw it. Like, members of our chat, of the people that we saw, we didn't need like this feminist like pandering, this condescension that only women are as compassionate enough to understand. Fuck you. Like, I sensed that from that scene. I was like, what is that about? And then in the next scene, they have Peaches. She's like telling Amos, hey, don't kill these people. You got to help the scullery maids and all that. Don't just be selfish, blah, blah, blah. And it's like that. Plus that, it's all this stuff. And then the overfocus on Naomi, Holden being completely sidelined in this whole story. You got to do the math on this shit. And it equals intersectional feminism and leftist agenda in our show where it has no place. No place. It's a show that was clearing the bases season after season with really strong representation, really intelligent writing, really humane and empathetic characters, and just a fully well-developed world. And now they're like, what it really needs? What it really needs to put it over that hump is agenda and intersectional feminism. Lord Thoth. They left out the best parts of book 5. I was worried when they killed off Fred Johnson early in the plot. Funny you say that. In our chat the other day on Tuesday on JakeD's channel, Hail JakeD, there was a girl in the chat, this woman Tracy. She said the exact same thing. That was her exact concern. That was the moment when she was like, what's up with that? Like, she could feel it. It was just kind of like, I won't use the example I used on Tuesday because I got lambasted for it, but it's something you can sense it in the air. You can feel the change. You're like, this is off. What is wrong here? Why? That's not right. It's like a disruption, like a tremor in the force. Lord Thoth, halfway through the season, I was excited, but they left out all the cool stuff. Why? Yeah, I hate to say it. I hate to, like make a declarative statement, but I think it just appears to me that their agenda is more important. It seems to be a feminist agenda. It seems to be intersectional feminism is what they want to highlight in this show all of a sudden. Naomi, we're getting so much Naomi. So much Naomi that I don't care about, like overwrought Naomi talking about her feelings and all this stuff that's just like none of it's really story. And then, you had the like last week's episode, which I guess you could say, it was a really good performance from Dominique Tipper. And it's an interesting kind of bottle episode. And I think it worked. But now that you see it in context with these other episodes, it's really dragging, man. And it's really over focusing on one character in a way that's just kind of like, why? It's really frustrating. Jake, the more I think about it, the more I agree with you on it, Matt. Yeah, I know, man. It's a damn shame. It's a damn shame. Oh, JakeD, you have a theory on it? It's Cass Anvar? The only way I could imagine that would be the case is if they did like some really tremendous editing choices and, they had other episodes planned for this season, but instead they like cut around them, and sequences that were supposed to be, 5 minutes of screen time took up 15. You know what sucks about that? We would never really get an answer if that was the case. If it was about Cass Anvar, there's no way we'd really ever know. I don't know. Lord Thoth, now I understand why they canceled this show. I'm highly doubtful over 2 movies. The ratings already low are going to crash if this keeps up. Yeah, Gary said that tonight. It's the first time hearing about it. I guess there's supposed to be 2 Expanse follow-up movies. I almost don't care. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I almost don't care. If it's going to be an intersectional feminist lecture, I don't care. I don't care what form it is, what color you represent, whatever like new magic trick you try to convince to push on this. I'm not interested in it. I will never be interested in an intersectional feminist lecture. I don't care what package you put it in. I don't want it, and neither does the audience. Shove it up your ass. We're tired of it. Why do you think your ratings are tanking? It's like Gary was talking about this earlier with the whole Star Wars thing, and like Kathleen Kennedy like snatching at this new opportunity that was created with The Mandalorian. And it's like, yeah, it's like they don't understand that, like, oh, well, now this time it'll work. Now that we got the bait and switch, now that we got we're never gonna like it. We are never going to enjoy a lecture on intersectional feminism. It's never going to be interesting. We're never going to absorb the message. We don't want to hear it. I don't understand how much clearer we have to make this. Drop the bullshit. What is so fucking complicated about this? Stop lecturing your audience. Stop just injecting your agenda where it doesn't belong. Tell us a fucking story. Tell us a fucking story. And then we will show up. If not, we're out. And if the Expanse is going to continue to do this, I will continue to cover it, and I'll destroy it. And I've got a pretty loyal audience all of a sudden. Lots of Expanse fans. Not that big. Big enough. I'll talk about it. I will eat it up, man. It's just everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. It's so demoralizing. It's constant. And they always think they're going to slip it by. We're not going to notice this time. Really? Like, I'm more savvy now, you dumbass. I'm sharper than I was before. Oi, JakeD. There's a reference to Cass Anvar. They wanted to cut him out as much as possible, so his story is gone, and his story likely relates with the Holden story. That's an interesting theory, Jake. That's an interesting theory, that they would drag out the whole season instead, like that they would like just cut their own episodes and find a pinch point where they could take out Cass, and then they won't have to deal with it anymore next season. It's shady as shit. It's shady as shit. The tone of the tone of the show changes. We have this whole thing with Cass, no answers. Excuse me. No conclusions released, just that he won't be joining us. And then I tell you, I kind of saw it a little bit, but I brushed it off as just kind of like a personal agenda. But when they did the New York Comic Con's like panels, Dominique Tipper, she led the panel, and she made it a very like a point about like talking about like social platforms and stuff like that. You know, that was like something that she kind of finished it up with. And I like rolled my eyes because I knew it was obligatory. But now with what we see, it's like, oh no, they intended to turn this season into this is the first time they're going to turn the Expanse into a platform. They're going to make it about their agenda. They're going to use it. They use their platform to lecture us. I think that's what it appears to me. And now with that, thinking back on that New York Comic Con thing, it's like, oh, maybe this was the plan all along. Lord Thoth, it'll be interesting to see when the accusations came in on him, if it interfered with the shooting of the second half. It didn't. Well, actually, no, maybe it did. Who knows? Because we only heard about it after the shooting was completed, but we don't know what was going on in-house. The shooting was completed before season 4 even came out. So I wonder if maybe they're like saving episodes for next season, like under Jake's theory. I don't know. That's interesting. Interesting theory. I had not considered that. Lord Thoth, I had heard the other shoe drop on this episode. Yeah, me too, bud. Me too. 100%. As soon as I saw Avasarala like lead the walkout and everyone else who walked out, save for one person, was a woman, I was like, oh no, this is off. This is off. I felt it. I felt it with like Game of Thrones, and like I felt it like in the first third or whatever quarter of The Force Awakens. I was like, this is wrong. This is off. This whole tone is different. This whole thing. I honestly think it's because when you start getting into agenda, when you start writing about agenda, when that's the motivation of why you're telling a story, I authentically believe, from a writer's point of view, from a creative person's point of view, you block your muse. you block the very inspiration that allows you to create, and it comes out shit. It comes out transparent. It comes out clunky and obvious and ham-fisted because it's not natural to the writing process to put agenda, to put like your politics in there. It's not natural. It's not part of the process. So when you start forcing it in, it all of a sudden it clink, crunk, 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 it doesn't work. And I think that's exactly what happened with this episode because it just didn't ring true almost from the beginning. And every scene was either like it was too long or didn't accomplish much. And then it was just so focusing on the female characters to the point where it was just kind of glaring. It's like, I've always been on board with these female characters. Not once have I ever had a problem with any of the female representation in this show ever. Not once. But now it feels like you're using it as a tool or a weapon or a platform or whatever. And it's like, oh, we're doing this now. We're doing this. The Expanse flipped. I guess it was only a matter of time, really, because it's, you know, if you watch them, if you see their social media presence, if you see James S.A. Corey's social media presence, I mean, it's about as toxically woke as you can get. So I always assumed that they had artistic integrity. You know, I always imagined that like they kept those things separate, like one should, like I do. I don't write my politics into it. I'm not like, hey, here's what I think, everybody. Look. This is what my thoughts are. Read them and absorb. I'm right about things. Fuck off. No, I didn't. No, good writers don't do that. Interesting writers don't do that. You write stories, motherfucker. Ugh. And I always thought that they had that extra level of gift of writer, you know, like integrity, that they didn't do that they felt the way they felt, but they told the stories they wanted to tell. Guess not anymore. Guess not anymore. Eric K is here. Hello, sir. Good to see you, Eric K. The great Eric K. The mighty wrench over at Nerd Erotic. Good FNT tonight. That was a lot of fun. Covered a lot of ground. Very efficient story. Very efficient show today. I really enjoyed it. Lord Thoth. It's hard to watch. My wife sighs when I hit the pause button on our shows and give her the look. She sees it too. It was impossible to ignore. Also, it's just not been interesting. I mean, what have they accomplished over the past 3 episodes? Almost nothing. Like the story is barely moved. I mean, James Holden, Jesus, man. And you'd think he's coming from like the other side of the sun, you know, like where is he in reference to this, to Chechmoya? It's a Chechmoyka or whatever. Like it's so random and they're not doing a good job of giving us like our solar system geography. So they're just kind of like, I don't know. It's taken a little while. Well, fun development, guys. We got a guest on the MFer Cocktail Lounge. It's none other. You know him. You love him. The mighty JakeD.
Hail,
my
Cocktail Lounge. So by God, I poured myself a little bit of 15-year Macallan for this.
Nice. Very fancy, my man.
I wish I could have a big stogie to go with it because that's what you need. It's what you need, brother.
The funny thing is, I'm just drinking water
for the Cocktail Lounge. Oh,
I know,
dude. I'll be up for 2 minutes while you get a real drink.
I'm not drinking tonight. I'm taking it easy. I'm staying sharp, even though it is sort of contradictory to the whole branding of the thing. But I'm taking it easy.
The more I think about it, the more convinced I am that this absolutely was the woke switch.
Right?
Yeah. And it was, they're putting this together and they're getting this season written and beginning to produce it right when the election started heating up in the early primaries.
Yes.
That's when they threw this shit together. And to your point, the writers, I mean, everybody's always known that the writers of this show are very left-wing, very woke, very, very much about a lot of the things that drive a typical fan insane.
Absolutely.
We've always known that. That's why people in our sphere don't follow them on social media sites because it'll just blow your fucking mind up, man. But, until really kind of episode 6 of season 5, everything before that, the agenda wasn't there.
It wasn't there. And real quick, let's add additionally, Lord Thoth has joined us. What a treat.
Lord Thoth.
Gentlemen, how's it going?
Good to see you, my friend.
I'm I couldn't resist. This conversation is just so intense, and as soon as JakeD dropped in, I said, "Oh, okay, I'm not going to go to bed. I'm going to have to."
Right.
It's been a long day already and a long week, but I said, you know what? My friends are chatting about something true to my heart, so I thought I'd drop in.
Man,
Well, you know what? In that instance, why don't you get it off your chest, my friend, just in case you want to dip out.
Well, I think that a lot of what you were saying the other night on JakeD's channel there, it hit close to home. I was watching the episode. I watched it the next day. I know you guys watched it the night before, so unfortunately I didn't join you live. But I watched the episode, and at the end of it, I just sat there and thought about it. And then so I went back and I watched some key scenes again. Because normally I don't watch it a second time right away. I let it sink in a bit. But I said, no, that can't be what I just watched. And that was my first reaction. I went, every single episode, well, pretty much the first 5 episodes. I'll give the 5th episode I had some issues with too. But the first 5 episodes I went, those were some damn fine science fiction television. I said, it's go, and it's hitting the fan, and I liked what Naomi was doing with her character. I liked everything that was going on. Like, I liked what was happening on Earth, what was happening on the moon, what was happening with Cassandra.
I love what was happening on the moon too. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but
no,
I
that's good.
It.
And I think that a lot of those storylines were good because they were they were little chapters. It was like you're reading a book and there was a chapter and you could go, the episode was mostly on a main chapter with some pieces here and there from the other characters. And it kept you in touch with all of the people that we've been following for 5 seasons. And then episode 6, we got on this storyline where this whole family stuff and leaving your kid behind and tears in hallways and huggy. And then the next minute you're mad at your mom again and you want to kill your ex. And I'm like, I really don't want, this all could be happening in one episode.
Yeah.
And
that is exactly what I.
And then episode 7 happened. And it was the same crap, except is she locked in her room this time, or is she allowed to walk out? It's like, and then does she piss somebody off, and then she's locked back in there again, and then you get 8, and you get her. The spacewalk I won't even bother going into. Obviously, the science behind it is really stretched thin to be able to do a spacewalk and survive without your eyes popping and your lungs imploding and everything else happening to your body. With whatever this oxygen shot she took, it wasn't a Superman serum. So, okay, I'll give you that on behalf, because it's very similar. You get that walk. Yeah. Okay. You get a lot of stuff in the novel too. That it's a heroic journey for her, and I get it, a heroic journey. And then this episode was even more. Yeah, like it's great that she can find water because she was in sub-zero temperatures, and there was a little bit of air clinging, and you could get some water off the pipes, and it's
interesting. Sure, it's just endless.
But how many times you got to go back to the same tunnel and do the same storyline? Like, this could be done in one episode. So what you've done is you burned through 9 episodes now where everything was so great. And you had this big, it was like your heart is pumping and you're following your heroes and you're seeing everything going on, and you're seeing what's happening on Earth and how everything is kind of gone all crazy and stuff. Yeah. And then I want to see them all get back together and solve the real mysteries of this story. Let's talk about the proto-molecule. Like, there's so many great things in this story. You've got Holden's story, which is on pause,
right?
And you've got. I think that there's a lot of things that took a back seat here because of the political situation that's going on in the world today. And I think that a lot of things happened in the last 12 months that when they were doing this show and they were shooting this show, that a lot of things got put to the side, and the writer's staff and the writers of the show and the producers said, let's take this in a different direction. And it lost its way. So there were some bad decisions made and it lost its way.
Dude, as you're talking about that, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, there's nothing stopping them from having done reshoots. You know, like they said everything was shot, but it's not like, well, then it can never be touched again. Who knows if they, who knows if they reshot the whole second season? I got the feeling from a lot, and I mentioned this when we covered episode 7. I was like, why does this feel so small? It just feels like two people in a room talking. It doesn't feel like there's barely any camera movements. The setups are small. It doesn't have like that robust, big life that the Expanse usually has. And I'm like, what is that? Now we're talking about it. Maybe they went back and did some reshoots. Maybe they,
could have done that.
Easily could have done that, especially if, like, as you guys are saying, they're taking it in like what could be them taking it in a new direction based on the political climate. It's like that is so well within the realm of possibility. And I'm like, starting to feel like, yeah, that's probably what happened.
And the other thing is if you think about it, right, the shit that came out about Cass Anvar could have easily been a catalyst for them, right? Oh, okay, you know what? We've stayed away from this shit, but now we got a Me Too situation on our hands. Yep. We got to prove our bona fides, right? And these are crazy wokest people. We know that. We've always known that about them, right? But now they got a Me Too situation on their hands. And so
he's a great character too. Like, I agree with you, JakeD. I think that there's a lot of things that happened there I love your theory, man. I love your theory.
Yeah, I really think it's related to, now granted, I haven't read the book, so I don't know how much Alex and Holden's stories tie together from the novel, but if they were linked,
it somewhat, is. Yeah, they are.
Well, they are. There you go. You're getting rid of Cass, which means you have to get rid of Holden because the two stories are perfectly intertwined.
Dude, it's just like Gary says, like, we don't want to have to talk about this, but you got to start drawing, you got to start connecting these dots and finding the threads, because this is what 2021 is. This is what this modern era is. Entertainment and politics are one and the same now. And so when these radical changes happen, it's like, well, now we have to talk about politics. Now we have to get into the agenda. Now we got to talk about the climate of the year and this, that, and the other. I wanted to highlight a comment that Elvis mentioned. Hail, Elvis, by the way. Good to see you, sir. Good to see you. Brigadier General. Episode 9, less Naomi on screen, but everyone is talking about her, rushing to save her, or thinking about it. Michael Burnham of The Expanse.
Did you? God, STD made it into The Expanse.
I mean, you can't
They
argue.
burned through 9 episodes. That's what gets me here, because this story is a great story. The first 6 books, let's just leave it in that kind of microcosm of science fiction. You've got the other books, like, I haven't read 7, 8, 9, so I can't really comment on it. But I know that these first 6 books, man, is a great story. Now there's some, there is some stuff that's gonna be happening here real soon, and I think that's what we're kind of treading towards here. We're moving towards that woke SJW lecturing that we're gonna get. That's what I'm scared of. And Gary tonight made a comment and on his live stream, and he said, I haven't made a bad comment. I haven't criticized this show until this point. Yeah. And I sat there and I looked at him and I went, I feel the same way. And I've said some things, right? I think we've all kind of said some, well, this could have been done better, but man.
Yeah, but this is the first season where I've genuinely had issues with an episode where I was like, that was straight up bad. Like episode 7 was the first one I said that about, and it was met with kind of like resistance from the chat, understandably. But it was like, this was the first time I was ever like, that was not good. Like from a writing standpoint, that was like inefficient. It was just people talking about their feelings. The story didn't move. I was like, wow, that was a weird hiccup. This show generally doesn't do stuff like that. And then the next episode, which we've talked about, was very good. But now when you see it in context of all 3, and this last one was like, I mean, it was like intersectional. It was women making the moral decision and all the men needing to be led. It's a generalization, but it was there. And now it's like you put that in the context of all, it's like, whoa, man, like this is the first time I've ever looked at the show from this angle where I was ever like, wait a minute, maybe this isn't what I thought it was, Dude,
to your point about the pushback you got when you had a bit of a reaction to episode 7, that was the first one of our streams, because I always re-upload them as a video later, because you get better traction, more people watch it, right? That was the very first one of our streams about the Expanse that I came pretty close to 50-50 on my like-dislike ratio.
Wow.
Like, is crazy. I'm looking at it, it's like, holy shit, that's like my most disliked video ever. You know?
Wow, that's
Wow.
pushback for sure.
Wow.
But you know what? If you look back, if we were saying that about The Force Awakens when The Force Awakens came out, it would have been the exact same response.
Yep.
People, it took time to settle in for people. People don't want to believe that their thing can get destroyed like that. And I don't want to believe it, but I'm also not going to like simp for it.
Yep. And
you know, starts to suck, you're going to hear from me.
The funny thing is, though, you go to our episode 9 review from earlier this week, and still more than the typical dislikes that I get on a video, but like basically half the dislikes that we got from the episode 7 review, turned into thumbs up on that video.
Interesting.
People were coming along.
Yeah.
I think.
I think even throughout that stream, we got some people like duct tape and stuff. We're kind of like, okay, maybe I see what you're saying here. And I actually went back and listened to it. And I think the way I came out the gate, it was a little like, wait, so you have a problem with Peaches not wanting them to kill people? And it was like, no, it was all this other stuff. It was content, you know. But
well, I mean, if you listen to the stream, you're getting me on board by the end of the stream.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you listen to the whole 2 hours, as we're talking through it, it's kind of like it's getting the opportunity to get chewed over in my mind. I'm like, he's got a point.
And it was also stuff that wasn't even like agenda driven. You're just like, this isn't good, or this doesn't make sense, or like, what is going on here? Like, why are we? And it sucks because we couldn't have been more hyped up for this season. I mean, when you got those first 3 episodes, man, I was like, this is kind of the greatest thing I've ever seen. And I said early on in my streams, I was saying I think this could be the best season of television maybe ever.
I said the same.
And wow. I mean, even if it finishes strong, I don't know how that could be.
The first half of this season was the best season of television ever aired.
It really was good.
The second half has been, at best, meh.
Yeah.
I mean, Naomi did give a great performance in episode 8.
Totally.
It was an amazing acting performance. But when you take it, like you said earlier, in the context of episodes 7, 8, and 9, those 3 episodes, I swear to God, were supposed to all be episode 7.
I think you're right. I mean, even with, Naomi's spacewalk, maybe that ending or whatever, but like the fact that whole episode took up like, a good half hour or more of just her talking about her feelings with Marco, talking about her feelings with her son, talking about her feelings with Sin. It's like all these, it's just like, get the fuck on with it. And then it ends with, the spacewalk, which kind of, I think, should have been a dramatic moment. And we're just kind of like, meh. And then so you have all that. Then you have Naomi just like in pain for 60 straight minutes. And then it's just like, could you stretch this out longer? Let's go. You're taking the punch out of every moment. I don't care about any of it. Like, just now let's get on with it. Also, you set the pace so high and fast in the beginning, and then you just dropped it to a halt in the second half. It's like, eesh.
Yeah, it does bear hallmarks of reshooting in the sense of, so we know from people who've read the novels that there was a fuck lot more going on that we haven't seen.
Yep.
Okay. And we also know that a fair bit of it involved Alex.
Yep.
Okay. And the parts that didn't involve Alex sounds like they largely involved strong male characters. Okay. Now, I grant you, I haven't read the book, but that's the sense I got from listening to Tracy in the comments on Tuesday and from some other folks since then. So what was cut out, it was your strong male leads, and it was absolutely at the expense in particular of Cass Anvar. Okay, we know that the whole Cass Anvar, whatever the fuck he did, and it was probably legit.
Right.
Okay, we don't know for sure, but it sure looks like it was legit. Whatever.
A lot of accusations.
Yeah.
For it to not be.
Okay. So whatever he did probably happened, and you're woke as fuck writers. What do?
Mhm.
You get him the fuck out of the show, and you prove your woke bona fides.
Yep.
So you mute your strong male roles, you expand your female roles, you put Avasarala in the lead of a female rebellion, you get Naomi feelings in hallways, you get Naomi hugging and making crying with her son and her ex-husband trying to win her back or whatever the fuck. I don't even know what the fuck that was. I mean, Marco was such a great villain, but now he's got this fucking thing for his ex-wife. Why would he even give a fuck? I don't
know, and he's not even menacing anymore. Like even when he was like, it's just we were talking about it with his relationship with Philip. It's like, and then Philip got mad. It was like, who is Philip and why is he upset? Like, what was his motivation? And then just like Marco's being like, he left us. It's like, was that a manipulation or she left us? It's like, do you straight up think like she left you? Like,
I'm not sure. This is a stupid complaint about that scene, probably, but like his posture and the way that he looked and how he was kind of like all puffed up and like it was so unnatural looking.
Yeah.
Like as if it was like an attempt to try to make him look imposing.
He seemed to kind of, I don't know. He seemed off. And something I was just thinking about, it was just like, the fact that James S.A. Corey, these guys think that they could put this in a show that probably has more than maybe any show, like fan support, that this is a fan supported show. So much so that it literally got rescued and resurrected by a fan movement online that they think
led by Cass Anvar.
Good fucking point. Led by Cass Anvar, that they think that they can now slip past us some intersectional agenda, and we're not going to notice, and we're not going to have an issue with it.
You know, I got news for those fuckers. I didn't like Trump either. Don't like Biden either. I don't like any.
I don't care. Like it's got nothing to do with
like any of those assholes.
200 years in the future.
You know, I don't like those fucking hedge fund managers that just got stonked. You know, I don't like any of those elite fuckers. None of them. Okay.
Well, I have some. So I have some story writing stuff. So this is pretty minor in the books, but there's some stuff that follows up here. I won't go into too many spoilers because that might spoil season 6.
I don't know if I care anymore.
I was just gonna say.
So you have Delgado and Pastor kind of working together to send this attack into Pallas. It was Pallas, right? Pallas was the asteroid, and which killed military targets, obviously, and civilians. And for the Earth UN government to do that was extraordinary. Now, I get Avasarala's heat in that meeting and how upset she was. Obviously, she also had some ego involved in the heat in that conversation, and also the death of her husband because of that she wasn't told. And I get that that's part of why she was upset, because they went behind her back. Well, they went behind her back because they knew that she would fight against it, because she's upholding interstellar law here. We're talking about the law of Earth, Mars, and everybody else in the solar system, whereby you don't attack civilian targets. It's like the Geneva Convention. It's like it's like big war crimes issues right there. So
100%.
I have some problem that look, I get that Delgado would be pushing for that kind of military strike, but you're just asking for the terrorists to get more to get more people on their side. And I also understand what happened in New York a couple of years ago and why this was kind of put into the story, because at the time when this was being written, it was certainly in most recent memory and what happened and what the United States did in reaction to what happened at 9/11. So
and 100%. And look, the point is met. Like, I agree with the sentiment. I don't think they should have destroyed Pallas. I don't think that like the next smart thing to do is to radicalize the rest of the belt by literally declaring war on it. But like the idea that only the women in the high command recognize that is so fucking condescending and so
you're going right where I was going. Yeah.
It's so much fucking agenda, right? And it's preachy, and it's telling us who we should hate, right? And they don't mean in the show, they mean in real life. They absolutely mean in real life, and that pisses me the fuck off. Now, was this?
It was preaching. This episode was a lot of preaching.
Was it as preachy as The Last Jedi? No, but it was very fucking preachy.
Yeah,
you know?
No, I mean, like a gender studies course isn't as preachy as The Last Jedi, but I mean, like it's it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. And the worst thing was it was clunky. It wasn't even that, because they kind of established this, I think, in the episode prior with Avasarala. And I remember feeling like, that's a lot of women that are having pushback on this. I was like, well, there's also men that are pushing back. Okay. Like, but you know what? I had my own cognitive dissonance where I was like, oh, that's probably, I don't want to believe that's what's happening. That's not what's happening. But then you see it like come out so profoundly. But the worst part was the clunkiness of it was that the next scene you had Peaches being like, hey, Amos, we got to save the scullery maids and all this shit. It was just like, oh, okay, all the men in this just need to have their hands held. They just need to be led by a more intelligently compassionate woman. And we're all just, okay, whatever you say.
Do you mean Timmy? Do you mean Timmy? That's his name, eh? Timmy.
I could have Timmy. If he was getting led around by his dick, but he wasn't.
Not yet.
Yeah. They might not even do that.
Yeah, you know, in a vacuum, if it's a singular event, you kind of go, okay. But if it's scene after scene after scene, there was like 4 scenes in a row where I was like, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
Yep, me too.
It just made no sense. Like it was. Anyway,
I was in my Airbnb watching on a tablet, screaming. I was just yelling, and I was like, "Oh god, these people probably think I'm crazy." But I was just like, no, not this show too, not this show too. No,
my poor remote. All I can say is I'm glad I have a projector screen downstairs because my poor remote. I'm gonna have to get the duct tape out pretty soon because I keep throwing it at the screen. I wanted. There's lots of STD marks on it, so yeah. Now it's got an Expanse mark.
Dude, what kind of crazy HIV and gonorrhea burning do you got going on in that projector room of yours, Thoth?
There's a lot of anger gets left out. Yeah,
you've created like a singularity of suck in that room, man.
Yeah, that's true. I need a blankie, I think.
I wanted to address some things in the chat here because there's some really good shit flying by, but I didn't have a chance. This is a great point by Elvis. Naomi didn't get any performance. Dominique got some. I know what he means by that, I believe, is that the character of Naomi is wherever. She's off in like some stasis somewhere. But Dominique got to show her acting abilities. And it's like, I kind of feel like maybe he's right.
It's fair.
If you follow Dominique Tipper on social media, she is in deep with the woke stuff. I had to stop following her during the summer because it was impossible. It was just like, oh God, it was every day. And it was really angry and emotionally charged stuff, like that super woke show. I was like, oh boy, good boy.
Yeah, it's fair.
It's hard to take, man. Elvis, they ruined their show because they hate Trump, and now they are busy blocking people on Twitter. Typical TDS syndrome. Insane.
Unbeheld there, man. He speaks my language. Military history, tactics and strategy and warfare. I love that stuff. I'm an armchair strategist, so absolutely.
All right, well, let's get to that. Unbeheld says, the most egregious thing about all this is that Earth has a history of divide and conquer. The Brits did it during the colonial days. The Russians and the Americans still do it to this day. Support one despot against each other. So Delgado should have known better. It's a military tactic, divide and conquer, and yet a career politician in Avasarala is teaching an admiral the most basic concept.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I had such a big problem with that whole scene where He's a career admiral. He's obviously, she said he hasn't served on the line in 20 years. Well, most admirals don't. Like, I haven't served on the line in what, 15 years. I've been pretty much flying a desk for a long time now, and I get that. You start to get a little bit, rusty, but you still know your basics of military history, military strategy, tactics and warfare. You got this whole situation could easily been handled with a strike team, take out a military target. You don't have to involve civilians. You don't have to have casualties. You don't have to make this a big political nightmare where people are going to start talking about war crimes.
The one thing I'm going to say to that, though, is that if you're a flag officer, okay, and you're carrying those stars on the lapel, regardless of whether it's 1 or whether it's 4, okay, now maybe you're not the best tactical guy anymore, but where you're never going to get rusty on is the strategic view,
the big picture. Yep.
And what she was schooling him about was the strategic view.
Yes. What happens when you do this?
The one thing that he would have kept sharp.
Yep. Yeah. Agreed. 100% agreed.
They made him seem like he was this like blunt, like kind of like just sort of like bloodthirsty kind of baboon, because he, first of all, he had the terrible tactics, and then when she told him you haven't been in the field in a while, that's because he said he wanted to go back there because he was hoping he would be the one to kill Marco. It's like, where did that come from? Like, that came out of fucking nowhere. And
you talked about it when you had those people leaving the room, right?
Wait, sorry, what was that, guy?
Go ahead, Jake. I'll let you go first.
Well, he got real bloodthirsty really fast.
Real fast.
I don't know. Well, they built him up. They built him up as the supporter of Avasarala was that he was, a political admiral. Like, he saw the big picture. He saw her capabilities, and when they got the screen set up so that no more of the rocks would be hitting Earth, I was like, wow, this is a great character. And and then they go, and in one fell swoop, he's all of a sudden this, what you said, is a bloodthirsty admiral. He's a bloodthirsty admiral. Where was that from? That was a complete left turn on his character arc.
And it would make sense if maybe like his wife and kids died like in the rock attacks or something like that, and he had like like a character reason to go do it. It's just sort of like,
oh, you mean like Christian's husband,
right? Which was like, I don't know. It just, everything feels wrong. Like, because even Avasarala, like, you're like, I'm with you, but why do I suddenly feel like I don't like you? Like, I've never felt that way with her, but I'm just kind of like, I suddenly, even though like I'm totally empathetic, it's almost like they're making her like suddenly persecuted or something. It's like, I've never felt that way about Avasarala. I always felt like she was completely in charge, and like, I don't know, like we talked about it on Tuesday, Jake. It was like Avasarala, the idea that she won't deal with Mars whatsoever. It's like
she dealt with Mars in earlier seasons.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, they're compromised, so we can't deal with it. It's like, you honestly, does anyone believe that Avasarala is like not savvy enough to like manipulate like the intrigue of political discussion?
Well, from what we've learned from people who read the books, apparently she actually was fucking dealing with Mars in the books.
Yes,
right.
She's canny. She's very, very smart and cunning, and she's very underhanded, but in a good way. She's a career politician at the highest levels of politics in the whole system.
In the name of woke, they actually fucking neutered her.
Yeah, they made it less compelling. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, think about what Thoth
just such a great example of a strong female lead. Such a great example.
Think about what Thoth just said about her and about how she was doing the political interactions with Mars, that they completely cut the fuck out of the season. Okay, that was her being incredible, her being, to Thoth's word, canny, her ingenuity, her just strategic, high level, 4D chess shit. They got rid of it.
Yep.
So she could fucking woke stand.
Yeah, and what happened to Mars here too, by the way, right? We had the first couple of episodes where you're looking at the highest echelons of Martian political and military structure. You've got admirals teaching at the academy. You've got you've got what's going on with all these weapons. Oh my God, they're given.
It was so interesting.
Yeah. So what they're doing is they're giving terrorists the most advanced military ships in the system. They're 100%. Giving them to them. So
maybe like us giving like the
what the hell happened with that? That was a lot more interesting than seeing Naomi struggle for air for a whole episode. Like I don't want to like give me 5 minutes of that. Okay, I get it. You're trying to yep, tap tap tap, Morse code, whatever you're doing to try to get communication out there. But give me more Mars stuff. Like I love the Mars stuff. That storyline in the books is awesome, and you just cut out. So you have two of your best characters in this show are sitting on a ship taking 6 episodes to get to Naomi. Like
no shit.
You've got Frankie out there. You've got like what it just made no sense to me.
Like, Elvis nailed it about Avasarala in the comment here, man.
Okay.
Elvis nailed it.
Avasarala doesn't have to be smart anymore because now all she's dealing with is men. 100%. 100%. And also, I was saying she seems less savvy now. Like she seems like someone who's just gonna throw a fit if they don't get their way. Like she doesn't seem cunning or sharp or like able to like work the puppeteering behind the scenes. She just seems like someone who's just like, well, it's not gonna go my way. I'm leaving.
Magically, starting in episode 6.
And we made David Pastor the Secretary General just long enough to create a military situation whereby he becomes a bad guy. And Avasarala, a woman, can come in and rescue him. Like,
and he was interesting for about 5 seconds. Like it was just like, you're like, oh, this guy's really interesting. Like, who's this guy? Like, he seems like an out of the system kind of politician. And like, oh, maybe him and Avasarala will come up with some interesting strategies. They'll have like, no, he's bad. He wants to kill people. Get him out. Oh, and he's out. Bye.
Yeah.
No confidence and Christian's back in.
Yeah.
It was so fast. I was like, what the fuck? Like the political intrigue in the prequel trilogy of Star Wars was more elegant and adult than that scene. I was like, what the fuck? It just happened.
It just and they did everything behind the scenes. Well,
off camera.
Everything was done off camera, and then all of a sudden Delgado walks in, and by the way, I'm in charge now.
Right.
And then I want to get a position on the a ship to go out there and search down these terrorists. I want to kill Marco and Uris, and I'm like,
and
wow.
By the way, hey guys, that was a military coup. Or you know what I mean?
Yes.
He just removed a sitting leader. Like behind the scenes, like, is there any kind of public opinion about this? Did you have to make a statement? Like in the wake of a disaster, doesn't it kind of look like a sitting prime minister was just dethroned? Or it's just like, wait.
Don't you worry your little head about that. Christian's in charge now, Matt. Come on.
It's like, well, then why did you just put her right in charge? Like, why did you have this whole little thing with Pastor? What was that all about?
Well, at least he was
only about that. That's just your toxic masculinity speaking.
He was only impeached once. He wasn't impeached twice.
Oh gosh.
It's funny how wow, we really turned on this pretty quick, because we went from a couple episodes ago going, wow, this is a damn fine show still, 5 seasons in, and it's rocking, going hard, and we're loving it, and then boom, I'm like, what just happened? I felt like I fell off a cliff.
Well, you know why? It's if we weren't so sharp and savvy as to what is going on, where it's coming from, and why, we would all be way more patient. But we just were like, oh, it's like A2 Brute. It's like, oh, you're one of them as well. It's like, all right, well then we're done with you. Like,
fuck you.
Fuck you. If you're gonna play that game, we're not playing along, man. We're not gonna have this. You can't do this to us anymore. You can't keep taking our stuff, like breaking the toys, gluing it back together in a new way and giving it back. Like, isn't this what you like? It's like, no, it isn't. That's not what we like. And we liked it before you fucked with it. And we're not gonna just take this lying down anymore.
Look, when I was a kid, I had a buddy whose sister would rip the heads off of his GI Joes, and she'd put little doll and Barbie heads back on them, and she'd give them back to him. Okay, and didn't understand why he didn't want to play with them anymore, and that's what they've done to us with the Expanse. That's exactly
what they've done with entertainment.
That's what they've done with.
And that's why we know it. That's why we know, because they've done it with all of entertainment. It's why they did it with Marvel. They did it with Star Wars. They did it with Doctor Who. They did it with all of it. And every time they do it, they think this time it'll work.
Don't piss in my Wheaties and ask me why I don't enjoy eating them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm tired of it all. I honestly am. And it's frustrating and it's upsetting for those of us sitting on this side of the fence, I guess, those of us who love these shows. And we grew up with a lot of the science fiction and fantasy stuff out there that, you know, the 70s, 80s, it was a different world, right? I get that. Maybe it wasn't so equal on the equal rights part. And I get that we want everything to be equal. We want everybody to have equal opportunity, but when you're taking the toys away from the people who have them just because you want to preach at them and give them this storyline that you want, instead of it being an equal storytelling and giving everybody equal opportunity to shine. And we've said many times that the characters, the diversity, the characters, the strengths of the characters in the show are what's more important, and we haven't cared what sex they are.
Not at all. And if they cared about equality, they would have just kept doing what they were doing.
Yes.
Because I've never seen it better portrayed. I've never seen it better executed, where it was authentically given like women positions of power and they owned it, and it was because of their ability. And you had just as many like incompetent women, just as many like, you know, it wasn't about forcing an agenda or rewriting the fabric of reality. It was just authentically living up to these ideals that we all pretty much agree on. But now the tone has switched, and now the tone is not about that. Now the tone is about intersectional feminism. It's agenda. You could feel it. You could see it coming. It's funny. I think I started this off by saying, like, you know, I think we all kind of knew it could have come. So it's not that surprising that it's came.
Yep.
But it still sucks.
There's one episode left. How do you tell the story you want to tell here?
What story do you want to tell? I don't even know what story they want to tell.
I don't know.
So what? Yeah, exactly. What is the season about? Like, I got it at the beginning. It's about the asteroids. It's about terrorism. It's about killing millions of people. Let's fight back. Let's get back. Let's get out there. Let's figure out what's going on. You had this big tease with the protomolecule. They kill off Fred Johnson. By the way, that is a storyline. Like, I get that. Well, it's not a spoiler anymore. So he dies, but it takes a long time. He just doesn't die right off the bat like he did. So that whole storyline, when I saw that, I went, okay, maybe they're going a different direction. At that point, I wasn't upset. But the whole thing with the protomolecule and this big hint that they really had, there's been that blue plume that we saw in that picture and stuff. Hey, that may be the case, but they really haven't hit us over the head with what happened with that protomolecule for 4 episodes.
Yeah, they hinted at it. And may I say about the Fred Johnson thing, I honestly thought his death was kind of unceremonious. Like, it just kind of happened, and then you saw the scene, everyone's like,
It was an afterthought. It was a bam, bam, bam. Oh, it's over. Oh, he's dead.
Shit, Fred's dead.
And that's it. And it's like, Fred has been a pivotal character since like episode 4 of season 1 or episode 4 or 5. Like,
around there. Yep.
It's like, to just kind of like, we're done with him now and moving on. It was like, holy shit, man. Like, I feel like that should have had more impact. Or, you know, I think this is something we talked about, Jake, is like, the show feels small. You know, it's like you don't have a sense of the solar system. You know, like if Fred Johnson died, I feel like in season 2 or 3, you know, you would see like on the ground in series, like people, you know, rioting or freaking out, or on Earth, you'd get a sense of like, you know, rejoicing or whatever the response would be. You'd get a tenor, like a feeling of what the solar system was going on. I feel like we exist right now in these tiny little pockets, and they don't feel connected. And I don't feel like I have a bigger impression of what the solar system's going through.
Yeah, I mean, Fred Johnson showed up right after the destruction of the Donager, right at the end of the episode. He sends a message to the Tachi, basically saying, I'm your only fucking choice, bitches.
Yeah.
Right. And Fred immediately is flexing his muscle.
He uses that as political leverage. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And, the death of Fred Johnson should have been one of the more, it should have been almost as shaking as the rocks hitting Earth. Why?
Yeah.
Johnson is one of the co-leaders of the two major factions of the OPA controlling the ring gates.
100%.
Okay, between Johnson and Dawes, those were your two major power brokers in the ring. All right. Among the Belter, the greater OPA region, among all the Beltalaudas, Johnson is probably the single most influential personality and power in the entire fucking belt. And the only person secondary to him is going to be Anderson Dawes.
And he's a good dude. Like he's
Yes.
like proven to have like a strong moral center and someone who like while does do political stuff often is really like in the right in what you could consider an objective moral right.
Yeah, exactly. And so he is, for a large portion of the belt, if not somebody to look up to necessarily as the leader, he's certainly a presence. He's a mega presence among the belt, right? But not only that, Johnson's also the butcher of Anderson Station. Yep. He is a fallen, rejected symbol of the over-aggressiveness of Earth.
Yeah, good point.
Okay. And he symbolizes Earth's mistakes in many ways and the wrong things that the Inners have done to the Belters. Okay. Yep. So he is this dual character that means many, many different things to many, many different peoples. Everybody in the UN government knows who the fuck Fred Johnson is, and they love him and they hate him and they fear him all at the same time. And
they don't underestimate him, right? You can't underestimate a guy who was a senior officer in their military who did what he did. He has a lot of political and military clout. He's got a lot of allies. And I know he's pulled a lot of those favors in to get where he is, but he's also an ally to the belt, and he's given a lot of them employment. He's given them a lot of them a life. A lot of them trust him and are fanatically loyal to him. But there's also the other side too, where they do fear him. And fear sometimes can be a good motivator, but it also can be what we've just seen is a bad motivator.
Yeah. Well, he was also like, don't forget, he was also instrumental in saving Earth when the proto-molecule rock was hurtling at Earth. Like he was instrumental.
He launched off the fucking nukes that saved Earth, for God's sake.
Yeah, and he like talked with Avasarala, and there was like this back and forth, and they got they were able to save Earth. So it's like the fact that he's just gone. And it's like, okay, moving on, I think really indicates the fact that this show is not in line with its vision as much as it used to be. I've gone through every episode of this show on my channel talking about it, like trying to be as objective as I can, like with writing flaws. And I think the one thing we could always come back to, and you could even see it in the beginning of this season, was they knew their world, they understood their world, and they knew what like the consistencies, where the soft spots were, where like what was a hard and fast rule. And it always seemed consistent, always seemed authentic. This is the first time where I don't even recognize this show.
Yeah. Like, I mean,
it doesn't even have the same feel as it, like, Yeah,
I mean, how does Fred Johnson die and nobody fucking notices?
Well, he doesn't die getting shot in the back, that's for sure. He dies in battle, which is the way the character should go out. Like getting killed that way. He should be in a fleet battle between the good guys and the bad guys, and going out with a bang, and not getting shot in the back and then unceremoniously dumped. Like it kind of it hit me because I didn't like that ending, and it kind of he's kind of a hero to many and a villain to some, but it was a great character. And when I saw that happen, I was pretty upset because I know where he goes in the story, and that ending him in season 5. So a lot of what's going on here, I think, is their pullback. Right, you've got season 4 where, it was a little slow and there was a lot of dragging going on, and we spent a lot of time, digging in the dirt on another planet, and that's cool. But you expanded your universe in this show, and you now you can go to other solar systems, other planets, and then all of a sudden, boom, you made the universe small again.
I've been saying that, dude. I've been saying that ever since the ring gates opened up. I'm like, why are we not talking more about these outer planets?
And we got a little tease though, because when Holden is getting close to the proto-molecule, and he's talking to the people on the station. He's having this whole discussion with Fred Johnson, and he's talking about how what he felt and what the builders, what killed them off, and that there's the proto-molecule was created for a specific reason.
Let's talk
What
about
that reason was, and that when he was traveling through the gates, he felt like something was waking up, and we got a 5 or 10 minute discussion there that really teases what happens in the books, right?
And then they just don't go back to it at all.
You get that brief imagery of that sort of fire-ish kind of creature looking, flamey, like wraithy kind of thing, and that's it. That's all we fucking know.
That's something that they could have done with Holden's character this season if they don't want him to impact the story for whatever the fuck reason. If I was Steven Strait, I'd be fucking pissed off. By the way, he is the anchor of this show. He's the lead character essentially, and they have sidelined him. I'd be like, oh, in my 5th season when it's going to be probably the biggest show, I don't get any fucking screen time. I would be pissed. I'd be real pissed. But anyway, like if they didn't want to deal with him, like they could have had him like dealing, figuring out proto-molecule shit on the ship or whatever. Like they could have had him doing fucking something related to what you were just talking about. But I wanted to discuss a comment that Unbeheld had. All because some suit at Alcon decided to increase the licensing fee, which probably is what made Amazon bail out on season 7. And they sell this to the public as potential movie series. Do you guys know anything about what he's talking about? This is the first I've heard about anything.
Just this week is first time I've heard that myself. And apparently there's been some scuttlebutt that the way to finish the story would have been through a couple of movies. After season 6. I don't think that's going to happen now. The movie stuff is all rumor based on just a one line, maybe a potential movie series, as Unbeheld said. There's a lot of uncertainty on what exactly happened, but it makes absolutely perfect sense. Unbeheld that I've heard that Alcon was trying to get water from the stone kind of thing. I think the series is successful, but it's not a big hit. Deciding to drop everything at once and then switch into a weekly event is another thing that's kind of been detrimental to them. I think that the story would have been probably better if we watched it all in one sitting as just you go one episode after another, and then
are you talking about this season of The Expanse?
Yeah, and then because maybe you overlook some of the stuff that's going on, because now we got a whole week to analyze an episode whereby we can go, this was what was wrong, this was what went right. I think there was a lot that went wrong in this episode, and now we've got a whole week to get upset about it. And
I think you might be right, dude. But I'll tell you what, like the grinding halt of the story progression, which was flowing like a river. Like honestly, I couldn't believe at the breakneck pace that the first few episodes was moving at. Like so much stuff happened, so much story development. Like boom, a rock's hitting here. Like they're selling a ship, and like boom, bang, boom. Like the story is just exploding forward, and then it's like it has ground to a almost a complete halt. I mean, season 7, it almost didn't move at all. Episode 7, it didn't move at all. And then 8 and 9, it's kind of been like, I mean, I guess some things happened, but not a lot. I mean, whatever happened on Earth with Amos, I mean, it's probably inconsequential. It's really just a hurdle for him to get off the planet. Like none of that's going to matter, right? I mean, none of those players.
Nothing on Earth matters.
Doesn't matter. So it's like, it's just kind of like wasting time.
The only fucking point of him being there was, you get 2 basic points. Well, the main purpose is just to give you eyeballs on Earth. So you can see what's going on after the rocks hit with a familiar character, right? Yeah. And then, the other sort of minor points gives you a little more backstory on Amos to understand who he is a little bit more. So you fit those 2 things together pretty nicely, right? So that's the whole purpose of Amos on Earth. No, it doesn't affect the greater fucking story. There's nothing about him hooking up with Eric and Peaches that's going to be significant for the galaxy at large, or for the system at large. Completely
and even if it is
inconsequential, for fuck's sake.
Right. And even if it is, it's setting it's only would be groundwork that they're setting that'll pay off later. But they've spent how many hours on Amos getting off of Earth? And it's like, and then they skipped it for an entire episode. It's just like, so this is the whole of Amos's journey, is just getting off of Earth.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
like, that could have all happened in the background. We didn't see any of it.
I mean, you get roughly 15, 20%, maybe a little bit more than that, of an episode of the escape from the prison. And like, you could have, it was a fun scene, right? Yeah. But let's go back to the thought of they needed to stretch the season out.
Right.
Because they cut out Cass Anbar. All right. Which was probably, it's an understandable choice. Let's not pretend otherwise, right? I mean, given what we fucking heard about the dude, okay, you got to figure something the fuck out. So,
but what you did there, though, you cut Cass Anvar out, but not just him. You cut out Frankie too, right?
Yep, Frankie,
and that was a huge blow.
Which makes no sense, because if their agenda is like intersectional feminism and strong female characters, well, there isn't a fucking stronger one in the whole solar system than Bobby. But Unbeheld, he says the whole point of that arc. Is to get Peaches on the Rossi. They spent 4 episodes just to make that happen. The same way they spent 4 episodes to build the vacuum scene for Naomi. Just terrible. I couldn't agree more, dude.
Yeah. You don't need to do 4 episodes to do that, right? Okay, we know that fucking Amos is on Earth. He's there when the goddamn rocks hit. He happens to be visiting Peaches for reasons that weren't well explained on the show, but apparently were well explained in the book. But so he can pop and say hey to Eric. He can pop and visit Peaches. You can have a scene of him emerging from the destroyed prison with Peaches, and you could do like a super fast, like 20-second montage flashback of them crawling their way out of the fucking collapsed prison, and you've still got the effect and you've got the goal that you need to take care of.
I mean, it took. So, can you believe, like, when you think back on this, right? Like, it was interesting. Like, the prison's destroyed, and they need to get off the planet, right? So what you think is going to happen, they're going to go to Baltimore and they're going to leave. That's what you imagine is going to happen. Like, if you think back on if you knew that, like, where this was going when that storyline was first introduced, like, I don't think we'd believe it. You're like, wait, they're going to take the entire season for him just to get to New Hampshire, to get off the planet?
What the fuck?
Like, are you serious? Like, they did like one
whole fucking season.
They're just walking around the woods. Okay.
They should have blasted off in that fucking ship in episode 4.
Yeah, it should have literally taken 1, maybe 2 episodes for them to have like gotten off the planet. The fact that it's taken the entire season is just ridiculous, and it's just wasted time. It accomplishes nothing. It's not interesting. It's not part of the bigger story. It's really just a side quest. It's almost like The Mandalorian. It's like it's just a hurdle in this guy's way, but it doesn't impact the story. It's just something he has to do. It's a side quest. So,
yeah. And then Naomi's run to Marco and the Inaros faction, right? So she, apparently rediscovered the joys of motherhood at the age of 40 or whatever the fuck she is. And she goes after her kid because he's hanging out with Marco the terrorist. Of course, she's known that her kid is hanging out with Marco the terrorist for, his whole fucking life.
Yeah.
And she suddenly has an attack of conscience to go see her kid, which honestly doesn't make a lot of fucking sense other than truly to give you eyeballs on Marcos. Okay. But just, okay. She goes to try to get her kid, and, Philip is not unsurprisingly in thrall of his father. Okay. His mom, whether the reasons were appropriate or not, has not been a part of his life. Okay,
well, that's hero worship, right? That's that.
Yeah.
I can understand that relationship.
Yes, I can too.
I don't have that kind of a relationship with my father, but I can
don't
understand.
Think most people do.
I can understand it because it's kind of the opposite of my relationship. So when Philip is looking up to his dad, he sees this fanatical, charismatic leader who's taken charge of a faction to help his people, the all belters. And so when you have fanatics it's kind of like a jihad, right? It's a holy war for them. So he's looking up to him, and I get his mother coming in there, and that whole dynamic being thrown to the wolves, but it just. He's a smart kid. They've shown that, right? He's an engineer. He's pretty quick on the uptake and stuff. He makes some mistakes, but
have they shown us that he's an engineer?
Yeah. So it just that whole relationship.
They've shown us.
And you know what? I was getting pretty upset with Kamina that if she kept looking at that liquor and didn't drink it, I was going to go through the TV and smack her. Say, drink that liquor.
Did she not fucking kill Carol yet?
How has she not shot her in the face, as Gary said?
Why in the ever-living fuck is Carol still there to keep fucking with Kamina's authority? She should have shot her 10 minutes after she got on the fucking ship.
Can I be
expect
honest?
The next episode that there's going to be a reckoning. There's got to be a reckoning there.
Let me just say this, and I don't want to say this, but I noticed it almost immediately as soon as the season started, but I was like, I can't say this. I don't really like Drummer this season. And I almost didn't like her from the beginning. Like there was like a magical spark that wasn't always there. Like I always felt like that character had just so much depth. And
do you know what it was? Do you know what I think it is? I think it was the play between her and Ashford. Like Ashford was an amazing character. I think that they portrayed him much better in the show than the books. I think that the two of them had such chemistry that's really what it was. And when he was killed last season, that eliminated that, and it made her this crying, whining person who's like, oh, he's gone. Oh, my friends are all leaving me. Oh, and then she's this whiny little bitch, excuse me.
She's not taking action like she always did. She was always such a boss. And
with anger.
Anger. And in season 3, when you saw her like having to take Ashford's shit, man, you saw it on her face that she didn't like it. Now it's just she just feels so impotent. And I'm sure they're gonna pay it off this next episode.
I'm sure.
Whatever. Like it's just not that interesting. But I really wanted to highlight this comment because I thought the comment was great. What's up?
I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to make a prediction about the season finale.
What are the odds here? Let me call Vegas. What's the odds?
Okay, I'm gonna go. I'll give you 10-1, man.
10-1.
10-1. Drummer does not find her balls in the season finale.
Wow.
It's not going to be Drummer that kills Carol.
Oh.
You think it's going to be that other chick?
Yep, it's going to be Oksana.
God, I hope not.
Isn't that her name? I haven't heard her name, but like maybe once or twice the whole fucking season.
I don't know.
Kamina's little squeeze. What's her name, right? The girl that she got some great side boob of earlier.
I hope you're not right, man. But as soon as you said that, I'm like, oh, you might be right.
It's not even going to be fucking Drummer. You know why it's not going to be Drummer? There's a lot of fucking reasons. Number one, she's been talking with Carol the whole time Carol's been on the fucking ship, right?
Yeah.
She's been making nice with Carol. And Carol feels like she can confide in her and she can tell her, stuff and bring her into the circle because Drummer's a problem, right? Yeah. And Oksana, she took Drummer's gun from her, and so
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so it's not even going to be Drummer, man. They're even going to cut Drummer's balls off permanently, and it's going to be Oksana.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. Like, it's
actually kills Carol.
You say that, and I'm like, that sounds right. But I'll tell you what, like, even so, like, they have dragged that story out for like so long without adding anything to it. Like, it hasn't, the drama hasn't got, I mean, I guess the fact that now she knows Naomi's in danger is a little bit of an addition, but there's no ratcheting up of the tension. It's just kind of elongating and nothing's changing. There's no like Carol talking to Marcos and like nothing. It's just, okay, we're in the same situation and nothing's changed and that's it. And there's really nothing to go forward with. But I really wanted to get to this comment. This is something Dan said, and I was like, this is perfect. He said, a microcosm of this season will be taking 6 episodes to explain the punchline of the joke Delgado told from episode 3.
Yep.
That's true, and it wasn't even a good joke.
It wasn't a good joke, but it's so perfect. It's like they are taking so much longer to accomplish a little thing than they ever have in past seasons, and that those things that these payoffs have any right to take this long to accomplish. It's like, let's fucking go. Like, why are we, let's get on with it. And that's exactly, it's perfect, Dan. Perfect, buddy. Great comment, man.
I think that what's going on with Drummer is certainly easy to explain because she has nothing really to do in the books. She's her character is much better on the show.
Mhm.
I think that they're looking at the source material and they're going, what do we do with this character? And because she's become popular, it's kind of one of those side alleys you're going down, and it's a wall. They've hit a wall with her, and I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah. So
they had to kind of introduce a little side quest for her, and
So I'm betting you dinner at the Salt Lick the next time you're in town, Matt. That it's not Drummer that kills Carol.
I don't want to take that bet.
10-1. Does that include in the Canadian exchange too?
You get 10 dinners and you get one.
That would be like
I'll tell you what,
31.
Thoth, you roll down here to Central Texas area, and yeah, you can partake in this bet.
There you go.
Look at
whoever
this.
loses buys lunch. Is that it? Barbecue, Texas barbecue.
I just treated Matt to that just this week, man. It was
sick.
fell in love.
It was real good, man. I told my mom about it. I was like, Mom, if you ever come, we gotta go. It's amazing. But Elvis says he's gonna kill off Drummer. They're gonna kill off Drummer.
Wow, that's
even better. Drummer tries to kill Carol, and Oksana blows her fucking brains out.
That's it.
I don't know if that's to kill off your main Asian character in the show. That's kind of, I don't know. Is that racist?
She's not Asian. She's Ojibwe.
I don't know.
Oh, is she?
I don't know what she
was mixed. I thought she was.
I thought she was Ojibwe.
She's Canadian.
Know what that means?
Yeah, it's a tribe. It's a native tribe.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
but I thought she was mixed. I thought she. Yeah, she is. She is native. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a mix of smoking and hot. That's what she's a mix of.
I love it. She's the greatest. Yeah, it's funny. Like, she just doesn't feel as utilized this season. Like, when you see her there, it's just kind of like Naomi. Like, it's just emotional torture. It's like, can you give these characters like something to do or something to fight against? Like, the whole story has just stalled, and now we just have to watch our characters emotionally suffer. It's like, why? Why is this a story? You know what, dude? Your theory about Cass Anvar, man, that might prove to be right, dude. You should make a video about that because that is really like, I hadn't considered that, and that makes a lot of sense.
Dude, we will hear. I guarantee you that in the epilogue of this season, right? Whether it be on Ty and that guy, whether it be in interviews that come out a month or two from now, we will hear exactly why Cass became so minimized. Okay, there will be commentary from whether it be from Naren Shankar, whether it be from the writing staff, whatever it have you. They will talk about their decision making in this season. And we will find out.
I don't know. I just feel like a lot of these people, they're just not transparent when it comes to this type of shit. Like
no, they will be transparent in this because they Me Too'd his ass, right?
Yeah,
they threw the patriarchy out, and they're gonna trumpet that shit, dude. This is what they march up and down fucking Wall Street in pussy hats about. This is exactly what they yell about. Well, no.
Let's not forget to.
Wait, is this a joke or is she pregnant?
It is kind of funny. Maybe that's why they're going to kill her off because she's pregnant. I think that let's not forget that Alex, Cass Anvar, Alex is he's Canadian, so you have an international perspective here, from a law enforcement perspective, you're looking at a lot of things they can't release publicly because the investigations may be international in scope. So this could be U.S., this could be Canadian, this could be whatever, right? So
I don't think it was a criminal investigation. I think it was just.
I would be surprised that if there is any kind of sexual impropriety that's going on, that there's probably an investigation, and that's probably why it hasn't come out to the public yet. There might be more going on. Now, if it's a minor thing where it's just a complaint of harassment or something, it might be nothing, but then why fire the guy? It's got to be a serious complaint.
Yeah, but nowadays that's bad enough. I mean, like that's all
No,
it takes.
I think there's for them to do what they've done, I would be shocked if it wasn't at least semi-serious complaints here.
Have we heard anything publicly from Kaz Anvar since the accusations came out?
Nope.
Nothing.
Not a word.
And I've been paying close attention, but yeah.
Have you? Okay, yeah. I mean, there's not even like updated news about it. Like it's like it's
nothing.
Stories from. Yeah, I guess someone's like speculating about like who will replace him and so on and so forth. But no, nothing.
We already know who's replacing him. It's Bull.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Oh well.
Oh man.
So yeah, I'm disappointed in the episode. I gave it a 6. There was some good stuff in the episode. Yeah,
that's really generous.
There was some good stuff in the episode still. Anytime Timmy is in an episode, I'm good.
Yeah, he hasn't disappointed.
No, anyone named Timmy is okay by me. I like some of the characterizations. I hated what happened at the house. I hated the them letting those soldiers walk away like that.
So fucking stupid. That
was just stupid. You had the high ground. You had the high ground, and you relinquished that in a situation where you have civilians. You've got a situation where you don't know where your escape route is. You're stuck in a house.
Even if you didn't want to kill them, you could have disarmed them and tied them up. You didn't have to just let them go. What if they had like a tank or something? You don't know what kind of weapons they have on this like super wealthy island. They could have had like an armored car. What the fuck would you have done then?
It was tactical stupidity, is what it was, and that came back to least. Yeah, and so there was some writing here that the writing's been really good so far. We've gotten good science fiction. We've gotten good theories behind technology and how it will advance. We've gotten some good military tactics, and there's even the strategy and some of the big battles and stuff that we've seen have been pretty good. I think that the last couple of episodes, it's really been weak. I don't know if the writing staff, they need a military advisor on that writing staff, I think. But yeah, there was a lot of weakness. Now, most of the episodes I give are, 9s have been for the last couple of seasons. There's been some 8s, 1 or 2 7s and a halves, but I've never given a 6 to the show before. And I could have probably gone lower.
I think that's pretty generous, to be honest.
Like I said, I could have gone lower probably because I think I let my love for the show and love for the source material really kind of cloud my judgment a bit.
Yeah.
But,
I think that's
sorry, go
that's
ahead,
a factor of me giving it a 6 too. I think I'm still confident in giving it a 6 on the episode 9, but I'm gonna agree with Thoth. I think my preconceived bias for liking the show is affecting that 6 out of 10 rating.
I think that's what's going on, and I think over the next few weeks we're going to see a lot of people like coming to Jesus on this one and realizing and going back and talking about it. It happens, it's like, a lot of people during the most recent season of The Boys, we're walking through, we're like, this is kind of stupid, that's kind of woke. But once it's over and you go back and really think about it, you're like, that was fucking stupid. You know what I mean? Like you really have like a clearer idea of I think like once this is all done and we have time to reflect on it, I really think you're going to see a lot of people being like, oh, wow, that last season of The Expanse was bad. It was woke, went in a different direction. Cause it's like, even if you, like I said, even if it I'm completely convinced the intersectionality is there, but even if it isn't, it's still not an interesting second half of a season of television. Like it's taking so goddamn long to get anywhere, and nothing's happening, and it feels small. It's just not a good example of what makes this show great. So intersectionality aside, it's still a shitty, it's still really poorly written second half.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's too bad. I was so I was so enthralled by this show and how good it's been, and we've been waiting for, like I said earlier, the other shoe to drop, and then bam, we got it. But
And then it did.
it was shocking. It was really shocking to me. That's why when, I've seen a couple streams and people were saying, oh, good show. But it's too bad I missed out on your guys' view the other night, because I would have been right with you, Foulball, about all that stuff you're talking about, because I felt the same thing when I was watching it. And I think that a lot of what I said already, and like you said too, JakeD, that your love for this show has really clouded your perceptions a bit, because you went into it and said, "Did I just really watch The Last Jedi, or was that The Force Awakens? Wait a minute, The Force Awakens was pretty awful too." Yeah. And so you kind of look back at it and you go, "Well, there's the last couple of episodes, probably rose-colored glasses have taken effect, right?"
And look, and everyone's defense, the first half of the season was amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
It was rock and roll, and it just kept going. You couldn't believe how good it was and how much fun. So it makes sense that like people would kind of be hesitant to accept the fact that maybe that this is going off in a crazy direction. Now, let's say best case scenario, this was just a woke little detour where they bought themselves some points with the SJW crowd so that they could, look, Cass Anvar, blah, blah, blah. And then they get back on track next season. I mean, that is a possibility. I'd say it's unlikely.
I certainly pray for it.
Yeah, I'd say it's unlikely though, just because generally when shows go woke, they go broke. Like they don't go back on it. They usually just they double down and go harder. So I can't imagine that'll happen, but it's a possibility. And this would just be like a really unfortunate blip. I don't know. It really depends on where the writers are coming from, like what their values are. But they all, I don't know. I mean, everyone's complicit. Naren's complicit. The writers are complicit. Like this is all happening. And like, I like to believe that Wes Chatham is not like a woke brigade kind of a guy, but now he does that Tie and That Guy podcast right when the show turns, right when it kind of be like it's an ugly face arises. I don't know, man. Now I'm like, I don't know if I can trust anyone on like out of this show anymore. And it's like, I guess I'll just have to be like, well, we had, 3 good seasons, 1 okay season, and, maybe 2 shitty seasons. I don't know.
Well, season 6, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. If they're doing book 5 and 6, there's a whole bunch of really cool stuff. Maybe they're saving it for the home stretch, right? Maybe they're saving it for season 6 here, and we're just going to get a cliffhanger at the end of season 5. Maybe we'll get some of the things tied up here, but there'll be a lot of questions. There's a lot of things here that they haven't even broached yet, and we've gotten teases of it in the first 4 episodes, and then all of a sudden, bang! So we had this big threat, we had this big, stressful situation. Our party is scattered to the 9 winds, but they all come back, right? So this is just the slow burn to get them back, and once they're back again, the action's on. But they've already killed off Fred Johnson, so part of that plot is gone. And Cass Anvar is going to be gone. We'll probably figure out what's going on with Naomi here pretty soon. I would expect next episode. I hope to God they're not going to make that a cliffhanger for next season.
No, I can't imagine they would do that.
They are not going to wrap up Marco and Aris. I will tell you that right off the bat. That is not going to happen. That's going to be a season 6 ending. So I think that there's
has been calling that since like episode 4 of this season.
Yep. Oh yeah, he's the big
Elvis
bad
in the chat, man.
Yeah, he's the big bad, right? But he's not the big bad. Like that's what we can't forget here is that he's just a little bad in a big sea. He's a little fish in a big sea. There's a big bad coming, and I'm wondering how they're going to do that, and if they're cutting it off at season 6. And this big theory that there's going to be 2 movies. The chances of movies getting made in this kind of financial theater out there is just theater, no pun intended. It's just going to be a nightmare to try to get this sold, and depending on how well this does,
we need to send the stonks on a run. That's how we get it made, right? I mean, did you hear AMC theaters converted over $600 million of debt? It got eliminated by this shit that Wall Street Bets did?
What? Yeah.
Yes, you heard that right. You heard that right. They over $600 million of debt had been issued in convertible notes. So if the stock hit a certain price, it got converted to equity. $600 million of debt is gone because of these crazy fuckers on Wall Street bets, right? That drive
is
the
kind of the most
AMC stock
badass
price up.
thing. That's the most badass thing I could say. Oh, we have another guest. Another guest. Welcome, the great Just Another Red Shirt. Hello, sir.
Hey, Red Shirt.
Hey, I was just about to head out there.
Oh, well.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Hey, JakeD. Thank you, Foulball.
Yeah, man. Good to actually see you in the flesh.
Yes, sir.
Right on.
Yep.
He's been busy wrenching all fucking night, man.
Yeah, dude.
Pretty much.
Thank you for the support, brother. Thank you for the help.
Yeah, hey. No, my pleasure.
Wow. So, Jake, Jesus, man, like, because I was going to talk about that. That's one of the topics I kind of wanted to brush up on or like just touch on. Not that I know much about it, but wow, dude, like, is that the kind of thing that that they can counteract? Can they hold that forever? Like,
what do you mean the debt that got converted to equities?
Dollars of debt converted, like that doesn't sound like the financial institutions can handle that kind of fluctuation if it's just sort of made.
When you got to understand when the bondholders purchased the debt that AMC issued, the thought behind it and the way that the notes are written and the reason why it converted to equities is because in a normal world, if the stock went that high, the bondholders would actually make more money by getting the equity conversion, selling off the shares from the conversion than they would based on the debt. So that's why somebody who's financing the notes would do that, because over a certain share price, it's more worth it to sell the fucking shares than it is to hold the note.
Does that mean, like, the reason they would do like a bet like that is because it's so unlikely that this stock would reach that price? Is that like what this about?
No, not necessarily. It's kind of like, to an extent, it's like the investment world of having your cake and eating it too.
Oh, okay.
Right. You issue these bonds, they're notes. It's like a secured loan. Right. Okay. It's like you've got like a car loan or a mortgage is a better analogy because that carries its value unlike a car loan. So you're issuing these bonds against the assets of the company. It's the theaters, it's the name rights, the reputation, all this shit. And, you basically in a bond, you're lending money to the company at a very, very high level. Right. That's what it is. And there's a value in that, right? Because you're issuing, say, $100 million worth of debt to the company. They're taking a loan from you, in essence. You're doing it at a certain interest rate, but you make it convertible into stock if you go over a certain price. So if you got a $100 million loan and you did it at a 10% interest rate over 10 years, you're expecting a rate of return on that loan. So you'd end up collecting, $170, $180 million at the end of it. But if the stock goes over a certain price, you can just convert all those bonds to the stock, sell it, and actually make more money than you would have collecting the interest from the loan.
So is there what's going to be the outcome then? If how does this all play out? Maybe you can explain this for us. Cause I don't,
well, in terms of the retired debt, it's done.
Well,
it's already happened. It's over.
Okay. So let me just kind of
kudos to AMC for getting out of $600 million of debt. I mean, holy shit.
But let me just say, so layman out here, like this is my understanding of the situation, right? Is that these big hedge funds short this stock, right? Publicly, these like kids, essentially these people online on Reddit, they get together, they have this sort of financial coup. They all buy the stock, skyrocketing the price. Then the hedge fund managers, when they sell back their shorted stock, it's actually way more expensive. So they lose billions of dollars. Mm-hmm. Now, what happens let's just say that this all goes through, and like the whole thing with AMC and the whole thing, with GameStop, it all go. What happens once the hedge funds lose money? Now that the stock is converted, like the AMC's debt is converted. What happens now? What's like the fallout of all this?
Fair question. And the reality is, I mean, obviously the stock is not worth $400 a share. Let's not pretend otherwise. I mean, It's not, right? The fundamentals of the company don't support that kind of price. But all this is this is an investment strategy that's usually employed by other hedge funds. Okay. And it's called a short squeeze. And what you do is you find another hedge fund that took a really big fucking position short on a stock. Okay, in this case, like something in the neighborhood of 150% of the total existing shares.
That's the key.
That's the key. Were shorted. So,
by the way, Jake, to just make this one thing. If one hedge fund had done that, that's called a naked short, and it is really, really illegal.
It's fucking stupid.
Well, it's stupid. Well, yes, it is, but it's also you have to do due diligence to prove that the shares you're shorting exist.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's illegal. It's a naked short. You are just promising something you can't deliver because you'll never be able to come up with those shares. Yeah. You're betting the company will go bankrupt before the call comes. Yeah, and there'll be no value, so you can say, well, hey, you can get whatever you want. Yeah. So they were trying, it looks like the hedge funds were trying to kill GameStop. Yeah. And so they had a lot of shares. Now, go ahead, JakeD. Now that they are so overextended, they don't even know how they're going to find all the shares, never mind the price.
Yeah.
Now.
So, I mean, at a high level, a short is basically like, I call up my buddy over at Red Shirt Hedge Fund, and I say, yo, Red Shirt, let me borrow your shares of GameStop, okay? And I will pay you 10% interest on those things, but just let me borrow them for a month. And because Red Shirt knows me, Red Shirt says, yeah, sure, Jake, fucking borrow my shares, it's all good. So the price on the stock when I borrow them from Red Shirt is $10. So I sell the shares that Red Shirt lent me, but those weren't my shares to sell. They were Red Shirt's shares. I still owe Red Shirt those shares. I got to give them back to him in a month, and that's the important thing: the timeline. The timeline is what's important about these arrangements. So all these shorts and puts, a put is just an option version of a short hold. It gets kind of complicated, but it's the same fucking thing, right? You're betting on the stock to go down.
Okay.
And if you have made so many bets that it actually exceeds the total number of outstanding shares, it's super easy to get put into what's called a short squeeze. Now, typically, the entity executing a short squeeze is going to be my good buddy, Red Shirt Hedge Fund. And, Red Shirt Hedge Fund is going to be watching me because you have to publicly disclose the amount of shorted shares in a publicly traded stock. So Red Shirt's going to notice that I borrowed a bunch of GameStop shares from him. And he's going to notice that there's only 100 million outstanding shares of GameStop stock. But he's also going to notice that there are 150 million short positions on GameStop stock. And he's going to look at that and he's going to say, I think there's a chance I can make some money. And so Red Shirt's going to start buying all the GameStop stock that he can. He'll go long. He'll buy call options. He will do everything he can to put pressure on the stock to go upwards. And it's really easy to fucking do because it's like $2 a share.
And isn't so that's what all the Reddit kids did.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what's different about this short squeeze. Usually it's Red Shirt Hedge Fund who's got a fuckload of money and he goes long on the stock. And the problem is, like me over at JakeD's Short House, we have to give Red Shirt his shares back tomorrow.
Right. Okay,
So,
hold on one second.
I don't own them. I have to buy them from somebody in order to give them back to him. But Redshirt, because he's fucking smart, he owns all the shares. So I have to buy the shares from Redshirt to give them back to him. And by him sitting on them, he can set the price.
Okay, wait. Hold
So
on.
he makes money coming and going.
And
that's what Wall Street Bets did to Melvin Capital.
Okay, hold on
Yes.
just 1 second. Before we go any further, I need to.
They DP'd him, is what they did.
Just hold on 1 second. We have to welcome another member of this glorious community. You know him, you love him, the magnificent Vigilante Williamson.
Hey, Vigilante Williamson.
Vigilante Williamson here with another episode on Foulball Productions, and I guess we were talking about the meme stocks or the people finally rising
To the moon. It's
Yep.
stonk time, V-Dub.
And so when you said, does one hedge fund in this situation make money and one loses money? Is that what you're
Normally.
describing?
Normally, yes.
Of course.
So what happens in this instance?
Well,
In this instance, a bunch of 4chaners are making $1 million or a couple of $1 million a piece, and they're taking it out of the hide of Wall Street hedge funds. And the billionaires at Wall Street hedge funds are not used to losing money to normal people.
Oh,
Especially not 600 million.
Coup, like
Yeah.
just
normally, when JakeD's short fund is going to lose its ass, I'm just going to call my good buddy, Red Shirt down here. I'm going to say, Red Shirt Funds, dude, you're fucking me. You are going to bankrupt my ass if you keep this shit up. Let's make a deal, Red Shirt. And what would you usually say when I make that call, Red Shirt?
Oh, let's see what I can do.
And I'm going to tell him, I'm like, dude, I owe you.
Yes,
I owe you, Red Shirt.
I'm gonna put that right in this pocket here.
so typically it's just because they're rigging the game. It's like you don't have to worry about this kind of like anomaly. Like it's not
Got
really
it in one. You
So-
got it.
Right.
Shirt lets me out of it. He lets
Yep.
me out of it. He stops.
Exactly.
fucking me
I
when
don't
call
I
him.
don't squeeze until the pips squeak. I go, all right, I'll take a favor. I'll let you off the hook. You're gonna have a loss, but it's not gonna wreck you, and you can write it off on your taxes.
Okay, and so in this instance, were the 4chan Reddit guys, were they behaving like a hedge fund? Like, did they do
Yes.
exactly
Yes.
what?
Sort
Like,
of.
okay,
They were behaving like a hedge fund, but one that never intended to do business in the town again.
got it.
Yes.
Okay,
So,
that's
like,
badass.
the difference between a typical short squeeze and what we're going through is there's nobody to call. I can't call up V-Dub's hedge fund and be like, V-Dub, dude,
Right.
Don't fuck.
stop bending my ass over. I need some help here.
because I'm just gonna say Wall Street Bets stonks.
Well, no, there's 5,000 VWs. That's
Yeah.
the problem. There's 5,000 of them, each of whom have taken a small long position.
I got my
And
$600 stimmy check and I'm putting it into 50-cent GameStop stock.
Exactly.
No more.
I got a 1,200 share long position, and there's 500 of me.
Okay, so
And I
that's
really
all
have a
but-
hard time feeling bad for Wall Street right now.
Oh God, I'm buying stock in popcorn right now.
So wait. So now I just okay. So this all goes through. Now you said the GameStop and AMC stock is worth so much money, but it isn't really. So what happens next? Like, first of all, did the hedge fund people lose all the millions or billions?
Not yet.
Some of them did.
Some of them did, but what has also happened this week is that the trading platforms, Robinhood,
That too, yeah.
yeah, Robinhood, and anybody that you would think of going to for day trading. So, as Jake put it, the hedge funds, they don't know who to call because this is an army of Davids.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, but what they said was, okay, guys, well, there is somebody we know that we can call, and they control the trading.
His name's Vladimir.
Yeah.
For real. I'm not fucking with you. It is.
Yeah.
Isn't they really Vladimir?
Yeah. Yeah. And they went, dude, you can't let anybody buy any more of this goddamn stock. So that's the first thing they did. They shut down buys on GameStop and several other, by the way, stocks.
Now
you just can't buy it. Not through these platforms.
Okay.
Sure, who was the biggest hedge fund that was short on GameStop?
It was the same hedge fund that has a relationship with Robinhood. I forgot their name off.
Was it Melvin?
Melvin, yeah.
Melvin.
Yeah. Now, V-Dubs, do you remember who owns Melvin?
Man, I just covered this damn story yesterday, and I literally just covered this damn story yesterday.
You're giving him a hard time. Come on now.
That episode,
he did just cover it yesterday, so I figured he'd know off the top of his head.
Unfortunately, I've worked a stressful ass job since then, so my brain is complete putty. And
That's
episode
why
was
I'm
my
on
first
the
one.
stream tonight, man, because fucking this week was insane.
Citadel. I just
owns-
remember the Biden connection. I don't remember the name of the company.
Yeah, Citadel owns Melvin Capital.
What's Citadel?
Now, Citadel's a huge fucking holding
Evil
company.
corporation.
Yeah, they got lots of financial holdings, particularly in trading houses and things like that, right?
Think like Berkshire Hathaway.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
So now,
I love that you guys.
Robin
Hey, I'm
Hood.
Berkshire Hathaway. I saw that in Wolf of Wall Street. I don't know what the fuck that is.
Oh man, sorry.
Yeah. So, V-Dubs, does Robinhood charge you anything to place trades?
I actually don't use Robinhood. I'm a Webull guy, but they did the same thing.
Yeah. So,
Webull, you can trade after hours if they allow you to.
yeah, they don't. Robinhood does not charge for trades. Okay. I'm not even sure if they charge the users anything. It's very nominal.
Is their whole motto.
Investing through Robinhood is cheap as fuck. That's why Wall Street Bets uses them.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, obviously, you have to make money somewhere. If you're not charging for your trades, you got to make money somewhere
Charge
else.
for the information you trade.
Yes.
where
Who
the money is.
provides 40 to 50% of Robinhood's revenue stream?
It would be that Citadel Melvin.
That's right. It's Citadel.
Who I have a question for you, JakeD. What who has done a few speaking arrangements over the past year for this Citadel Melvin company?
I believe it was Janet Yellen, the first female Treasury Secretary.
Yeah, and she's just as corrupt as all the male ones, apparently. So
I am shocked.
good to know equality in corrupt assholes.
Yes.
Diversity in corrupt assholes.
So Melvin hedge funds going fucking bankrupt because Cumfart 1488 went long in GameStop, and Raging Pussy won't sell
Kamala
his
went
holding of GameStop.
I love that. I love that.
And Psycho Dwarf 56, he went long in GameStop and he won't sell. And, so did Raging Blue Mohawk. They all won't sell their holdings in GameStop.
Yo, that's pretty punk rock, dude. To think that there's these people who are just regular people who could be making money by selling their stocks. They just won't to stick it to them. That's
right,
punk, man.
It's actually sound. It is a sound strategic investment strategy, like for real, because there is still way too much fucking short out there to recover.
Yeah, to recover.
Yeah, even though Melvin closed out and another hedge fund closed out to the tune of several $1 billion lost. Billion with a fucking B.
Wow. Yes.
This week, they closed out their short positions and they lost multiple billions with a B.
Yep.
But there's still too much short out there, okay? Because these things, they've got cascading dates.
Yes.
That's why you can go short more than 100% of a company's stock.
Oh, I see.
Because they have cascading dates. So
Right.
the short position is still fucking huge. So if you're Cumfart 1488 and you're sitting on 1,000 shares of GME, you can still go long. You can sit long and you can sit pretty for another 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks because there's still so much short out there that these fuckers have got to buy the stock.
So wait, so when there's billions of losses, who gets the billions? Like, where does that go?
That goes to 4chan folks.
Far 88.
That's what they're going to earn. It's going to whomever that, as Jake said, it's going to whomever they borrowed the GameStop from when they shorted it. So whoever sourced their short, they've got to get them shares back, or they've got to get them. If there aren't shares to be bought, they're going to have to pay through the nose with a cash equivalent. I would think.
Probably going to be millionaires coming out of this. Like, people,
yes. Well, right now, on paper, there are a bunch of millionaires in the 4chan GameStop stock owners.
What?
Oh yeah, no, there are people who bought in. Was Jake said they bought in when it was 50 cents or $1. They put $600 in. It's $300 a share now.
Man.
And now higher. Fine. My point is, what's the difference? 300 times your 1,200 shares.
That's crazy.
And that's a conservative guess as to how much these positions might be.
I'm not sure if you guys know Wall Street's bets reputation before this, but like those guys will spend a lot of money just for clout. Like it's like a game to some of those people on that board. Like they'll go.
It is.
Like, even if you know nothing about stock, what they'll do sometimes is like do crazy, because it's called Wall Street bets. So they'll like short a stock. They'll like short like Tesla, even though like Tesla's flying off the charts. But they'll do it just like as a troll. But they'll spend like $10,000 doing it just to see what happens. And so I'm like, some of these people have put in like 100K plus or something like that into some of these investments. And I want to bring up a couple other points, and this is something else to understand on why this is, to me, I don't know if a good thing, but to quote this joker I have, you get what you fucking deserve. These hedge funds, I'm not sure if you know about silver, because they were trying to do the same thing with silver, but silver has been so manipulated over the years, and I've been following it over the past year. They do this shit, and they've been doing this actually the whole past year, because silver should be so much more expensive than it is, but they do this shit where they add contracts. So the stock ticker SLV is supposedly representative of a physical stash of silver, but what they do, but there's no way it is. It's pontificated. So they have, I can't remember what it was, but they can act like they have one piece. I think it's like, I don't know what the actual number is, but let's say it's one piece of silver or 1 ounce of silver. They can act as if it's 10 ounces. So, and I don't know what it is. I think it's more times than 10, but like, so that's how they get around it. So they just added, because people try to do the same thing with silver, because anyone who knows that, there's only so much silver that a similar thing can happen. But in order to combat that, because they have a little bit more control with this COMEX shit, they added like 37 million fake ounces to that contract to lower the price. But that's not going to last, because like the thing with silver itself is it's using so much technology.
I was going to say,
some company, be it Apple, be it Tesla, is going to say, hey, we need this many ounces, and it ain't going to be there. And it's going to Bitcoin. It's going to do exactly what happened to GME. But we just don't know when that day will come.
Okay,
right.
So back to the meme stocks thing, because I'm more of an understanding of it now that I talk to you guys, which is really dope. But like, okay, but now they can collect the short options, right? You said, because they have to short it in the future or whatever that is, like where they like it's cascading, like you're saying. But like when the dust settles and they have this really expensive, meaningless stock, what's the impact of that?
Fair question. And it's not a bad question, because there's more than one driver to the price of a stock. So a company's performance and its fundamentals and how much money it's earning is the biggest, most important driver.
Right.
Yep.
But
I would say it used to be.
Yeah. Well, what you're seeing with GME, and to a lesser extent AMC and Nokia and Bed Bath & Beyond, right? Like there's a bunch of them
This
that
is
they're getting squeezed. Okay, and it's all these shit companies that are doing poor. That's why they're shorted so heavily.
Right.
AMC have already paid off some debt with this.
600 million.
This might save AMC accidentally.
Yeah, it actually
Yeah.
might.
It might. It actually might.
The restrictions off, and I actually know somebody who works in the bar industry. He's talking about how people are just so like right now. People are so antsy to get into the to bars and get out. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So the movie movie theaters that were dead 6 months ago have been accidentally saved by a bunch of nerds on Reddit.
That's all.
Yes, that's the beauty of this, Vigilantes. That's the beauty of this. That's why, as Gary said on FNT, this might be the most punk rock thing I've heard of in months, if not years.
It's totally.
Yeah, and it is. This is so good.
Yeah,
I mean, and if it helps, Jake, tell me whether this is a simplification or I'm misdirecting. To me, a short sell is Jay Wellington Wimpy from Popeye. I will gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today.
To an extent.
And I figure it, except you're going to pay me and I'm going to give you your hamburger Tuesday. So it's kind of the reverse. Yeah. But yeah, it's one of these deals where all you need to do is set up a deal now that you're going to close in a month, and you figure that conditions will be more advantageous to you in a month when you have to close down this deal.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, basically, Red Shirt gives me a share of stock today. Okay. And today, the price of that stock is $10.
Right.
But I think that 30 days from now, the price of the stock is going to be $5. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I say, hey, Red Shirt, just give me that stock for now, right? And I will give it back to you plus $1 in 30 days.
Right.
So I grab the stock for Red Shirt.
The lion's share of profit off that, but I'm also taking the risk.
Well, right.
Yeah.
So I buy.
Yeah. I'm getting the stock back with $1, and he's taking the risk.
Right.
Yes. So it's a great deal for Red Shirt.
The guy who's taking the risk could be making a lot of money because of how the stock goes potentially down.
Well,
correct.
Right.
The amount of money I can make is not. I mean, it's capped. Okay, it's capped based on the difference between the value today minus what I tell Red Shirt I'm going to pay him in interest, down to zero. That's
right.
That's my limit of what I can.
And
pay.
you don't do this with Tesla stock that's trading at $1,100 or $1,200 or more a share.
Actually,
you're doing
you might
this
be
with
better off with that.
Well, you might be. I know a lot of people who've been sweating bullets because they've been shorting Tesla for months now, and they're going, "Oh shit, I got to renew the position because they still bet it's going to go down. It just hasn't yet." And, and Elon is just laughing at them.
Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, the thing is that most of the time the profit expectation on a short is limited because you're usually working with a stock with a company that's not in great shape. That's how you know you're convinced it's going to go down. So you're usually starting from a reasonably modest stock price. What the difference here is, the thing to keep in mind here is there's no limit to what somebody who squeezes the shorter can make, because there's no limit to how high a stock can go.
There's only a limit to how low it can go. So
yeah, there's a limit to how low it can go, because that's zero.
You can lose,
right?
As the shorter,
right?
Yes.
But there's no limit to what you can lose.
Wow! So these companies could permanently go out of business from this.
yes.
Oh God, yes.
They had to borrow billions from other hedge funds to stay alive.
$4 billion was borrowed in the last few days, from what I understand, to keep them solvent.
Wow.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this is going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
And
God.
this is, and I'm going to be laughing all the way.
Yeah, because
here's the thing that I think they think is going to save them, and it might actually be their undoing, but how that would work is not clear to me. Because so the trading houses, the day traders have capped and restricted transactions. Fine, but
illegal.
Well, that's probably part of the terms of service. They can stop you from buying any stock anytime they choose, and you clicked OK. But here's the thing they're doing now, and if this is in their terms of service, you should still sue them, because they are selling their investors' GameStop, their clients' GameStop shares without the permission of their clients for their clients' quote own good.
So this is a chart of 1 month, the value of GME, GameStop. So it starts out, okay, over here on December 31st, 1 short month ago, at $19.26 a share. So stuff gets moving, and it's right about here where the squeeze starts.
Yep.
Because look at this. You
It's been
double.
I literally thought it was like a week.
In 1 day, you almost double.
Wow.
Between the 12th and the 13th. Okay, then by the 14th, you're up to $40. So this is the start of the squeeze.
Yep.
That's when these guys identified that there was a huge money-making opportunity here. And then, we cruise along. You're getting kind of staying roughly. I mean, $40 is way fucking overvalued for GameStop. Okay,
Yes.
It's way overvalued.
I don't think it's been
Not
above
anymore.
30 in recent memory.
Okay, but look what happens here. We're just going day by day. We're going 1 day at a time.
Yep.
Whoa. Oh my God.
Okay, now here's when Robinhood restricted purchases of GME. Look at that. 348 down to 193. And then they unrestricted the trades so here's the thing. And bam, we're back up to 325. So what's hysterical about this is fucking Vladimir probably committed potential perjury and may have said things that may land his ass in jail on CNBC 2 days ago. So he gets so he gets questioned by the CNBC host, and CNBC wants to know why he stopped trades on GME, right? And this dude asks him 3 times, is there a problem with the fundamentals or the cash flow or the liquidity of the company? Asked him that question directly. And motherfucker looks in the camera and says, no. We're trying to protect our customers in a situation of extreme volatility. Guess what fucking came out today?
What?
They had a liquidity problem. They had to borrow $1.5 billion fucking dollars.
Who, Robinhood?
Yes, and they had to extend $600 million in their lines of credits. They needed liquidity because they were in a liquidity issue, and they had a serious fucking cash reserve problem.
Is that because they're the ones losing money on this gamble?
No, it's because if people close out their positions when, let's say you bought GameStop stock here,
they
right?
wouldn't have the money to cover it. Is that what it is?
Yeah. So when you sold it, they wouldn't have the cash on hand to give you your money.
Probably because they never anticipated anyone making big money with an app like this.
Who the fuck would? I mean, look,
This isn't the first time Robinhood has been through this, though. I'm not to cut you off.
Yeah, I mean, any brokerage firm is required to keep cash on hand. Okay, and the reason they have to do it is to settle trades.
Yeah, or they're not allowed to be a trader.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the rules. It's like what you need to have a seat at the table to be a trader, because if you've seen Trading Places, of course,
I get this. It's kind of like in Fallout New Vegas when you go through the gates to the strip, you have to have $2,000 just to enter. I get it.
Basically, yeah, and it's because look,
everything is Fallout.
That's all there is.
If
we're talking about bottle caps, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, if V-Dub's Red Nose needs to close out his position of 20 million shares of GameStop that he only bought for $10,000, well, Robinhood needs the cash to pay V-Dub's Red Nose out.
Right.
But isn't that of course they do, but there's no laws or there's no protection. If every single one of their customers suddenly makes millions, they have to be able to have all the millions to pay out.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
But that's that's an impossible level of money. If a stock goes from $10 to $1,000 and everyone's a billionaire all of a sudden, like how could that's impossible.
No, that's their position. That's their position. Foulball. Tom Lehrer put it in his song about for the Boy Scouts. Be prepared. And one of the lines is, "Don't make book if you cannot cover bets."
But that's what Unbeheld's saying. Unbeheld's saying, imagine you go to a casino, they don't have enough money to pay your winnings. Okay, fine, but this stock shit's imaginary. Like, at least at a casino, they're gambling with money. There actually is cash, like exchange.
But everything in the stock market is imaginary. It's all numbers on paper.
Right. No, I understand that, but I'm saying this price is falsely inflated. It's not really attached to any kind of value, and so it's just like it seems unfair to me that they would have to pay out millions or potentially billions. I mean, what would you can't own like a trading firm unless you're like worth $300 billion. Like that seems crazy to me. Like I think like it's reasonable, but it's like
you have to have reserves.
No, Foulball. That's why most of us have to deal with a trader in order to trade on the stock market, because if it were easy and you didn't require a large capital position to cover everything, anybody could go to the stock market and just go, I got 5 shares of Microsoft. Who wants it?
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
this is their game. The one thing, the price they have to pay to get into the closed game behind the velvet rope, where the very, very, very large man in a tuxedo has to open the rope for you, is they got to show up with enough money to cover whatever happens.
So what would have been, so let's say Robinhood was just like, well, we don't have the money. Are they criminally liable?
They would have been shut down.
Yeah, by the SEC.
Well, then, yeah. I mean, what else are they supposed to do? I'm not saying like they did the right thing, but it's like their parent company just took a fucking beating on all this crazy meme stock shit. Now they don't have the money to pay out. Of course, they're going to do literally anything they can to survive, including shutting down trading on this one stock that's murdering them. I mean, it's like, as much as it's fun to stick it to them, like what are they supposed to do?
Yeah,
like this is you can't plan for something like this.
Yeah, I mean, so Dan's asking in the chat, he's like, aren't they going to get the money from settling the position with whomever purchases the stock? Yes. But that doesn't change the fact that there are SEC regulations that demand that Robinhood have a certain amount in reserved capital to cover their assets under management. So if I'm a trading house and I've got $1 trillion worth of assets like held within my trading house, I have to have X amount of, cash available.
And it's related, like a percentage by the SEC or something.
Exactly. It's just like FDIC insurance at a fucking bank. You have to have like 10% of total deposits.
Oh, okay.
In checking accounts has to be like real money, supposedly. I mean, it doesn't work out that way. It's all bullshit.
That's fractional banking. Yes.
Yeah.
It definitely sounds a lot like 2008, though. Like just how you're talking about it, just sounds like a lot of like shifting money and bullshit, like quote money. But if you unpack it, there's literally nothing there. Like that's what this sounds like.
It sounds like it, but I mean, 2008 was, oh God, this is a bigger can of worms than what's going on right now. It is. It really is. All I'll say is that in 2008, a whole bunch of companies thought they had made investments where if the investment worked and went up, they would pocket the money, and if it went down, the taxpayers would be on the hook.
Oh.
And it turned out it was so big and happened so fast that system couldn't work.
I'd never
they
heard
couldn't
anyone
socialize.
Even in that movie, The Big Short, where they like literally explain it word for word, where they walk through it. I didn't even notice that. I didn't pick up on that.
They omitted one really important thing, and I've seen this from multiple sources, so I'm pretty sure this is true. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac created the financial instrument that was a mortgage tranche. Okay.
I don't know what that
So
means.
if you invested in a mortgage tranche, which is basically an investment in a whole bunch of people paying off their mortgages,
Yep.
that only existed because semi-governmental agencies, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, created them. And everybody, including the bond rating houses who said, oh, these are all AAA investments. Not all of those mortgage payers were that reliable, guy. They weren't. So the ratings to these investments were bullshit. They were based on, oh, they're from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They
Right.
can't be bad.
That's
Well,
what I heard.
it turns out that was a bad assumption.
They did make that clear in The Big Short. I remember that because I think it was Steve Carell goes to one of those people who rates those things, and then they could tell it. They just kind of were like, we're not dealing with this. Like they didn't want to do the work to really figure it out. So they're just like, it's from them, good enough, push it through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what I meant to
So-
say was it was similar. It just sounds like big way, like really powerful people playing around with like other people's money in a way where they feel completely untouchable. And then when all of a sudden their hand is shown, it's like, oh, they didn't, they'd been bluffing the whole time. They didn't have a full house. They had one ace and now they're fucked.
Yes,
That's
that is
exactly
true.
it, yeah.
They didn't think they could lose in either of these scenarios.
Right.
They figured they had the game. Everybody knew how to play it. In the case of 2008, it turned out they, in the financial industry, had made a bad assumption. In this case, they didn't count on the 4chan people bringing an army of small day trader investors to come after one short position.
That's so
Now,
bad.
Here's the thing. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No,
like
it's
this
okay.
is not the first time Wall Street Bets has. They've done this a bunch of times, just not to this extent. Not
Right.
Yeah.
They haven't got this crazy, but they've done this. It would have been more similar to if you noticed that chart where it only went up like from 20 to 40. But they do stuff like this all the time. And Robinhood, I mean, Eric K was talking about his Tesla stock. They talk about the Tesla heirs because when Tesla gets hot and it blows up, this sort of things happen. So I mean, Robinhood, they should have been more prepared. I get something like this is unprecedented, but it's not like completely unprecedented to this extent. Yes, but like they had enough information a few years ago, the first time Wall Street Bets put something similar to this to say, "Hey, man, this seems like a loophole. This seems like a something that could be damaged."
Hey V Dubs, let me cut you off there real quick, just because we gotta let the mighty and wonderful Lord Thoth take off.
Yeah,
I'm a little over my bedtime here. I'm fading. Yeah, this is like being back in university when I got my commerce degree. And not even the MBA stuff, because that's the easy stuff. Yeah, guys, thanks for letting me join in. Love this stuff. It's great conversation, and the last couple of days have certainly been interesting. I know from my perspective over here across the border, we've been watching very closely. So thanks for letting me chat about the Expanse. I know we wanted to get that in there and talk about what happened in the last episode, actually mostly this half of the season. So thanks for inviting me on board.
Dude, you are welcome literally anytime. And I'm so glad that you made it out because, I probably would have just ranted at the webcam all night, but just to know that you were able to come in and share some of our gripes with this most recent season. It means a lot. So thanks for coming in, bud.
Hey, my pleasure, man. And thanks for JakeD for getting me off my butt and actually getting on here.
Dude.
Blame him.
I wish you would join more often, Thoth. We
Fucking
love your
A.
voice.
Well, thanks,
Fucking
man. I appreciate that. It's the timings are kind of funny. You guys are Pacific or Central, right? So
Yeah.
I'm more on the East Coast, so in Ottawa, but Eastern Standard Time, so it's a little tougher. But I'll try my best.
Yeah,
And it's
I'll
good seeing
probably
you too, VW, and just another red shirt. Great to have you aboard.
Yeah, fucking A. Well,
It
thanks.
was a pleasure.
I really appreciate it, buddy. You go get
Yeah,
some rest, my friend.
Thanks, man. Take care, everybody, and thanks very much to the chat out there too. And I'll talk to you soon.
Hail,
all
chat.
right, bye, Thor. Peace.
Later, Thor.
Peace out, Lord.
Night. Be safe.
Oh man,
He is the shit. I love Lord
dude!
Thoth.
You know what's cool? Another funny, crazy shit in this same arena happened is fucking Musk tweeted out, like pound Bitcoin or some shit, or like
Dogecoin, I
BitStars or
saw
some
that whole
shit.
thing. Yeah.
So Musk sent out one tweet, and Bitcoin went up like $10,000 in a day.
Was it Bitcoin or was it a different kind of crypto?
It was Bitcoin.
So wait, so
Yeah.
so today it went up another 10,000.
Yeah, like one fucking day. Musk sends a tweet, one fucking tweet.
Yep.
And Bitcoin went up 10,000 bucks.
I didn't see that.
You know
I mean,
what?
I saw-
sucks? Sorry, go ahead. I'll
No,
tell
you
you.
go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you know what sucks is that I bought Bitcoin like back in the summer or whatever, and it was worth like $9,000 a coin, and I bought a few $1,000s worth, and it went up to like 1,300, and I was like, nice, tidy little profit. Sold it, and it's like at like $40,000 or $50,000 now, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
Oh,
Well, now you know why day traders don't have any hair.
yeah.
That is. I am only in stocks, in investing in stocks for long term. With my strategies are on the types of businesses and the size of the businesses. I don't do this. I want to get in today and out tomorrow by 2 p.m. And it might be 11 a.m. if it changes faster. And I actually asked about one particular investment of my advisor at Merrill Lynch, and he's like, yeah, that's a really good investment in a very volatile market, but I'm not sure we can move fast enough on that. That thing itself is so volatile. We could be if we're behind the curve by an hour, we're done.
Yeah.
So you literally have to be sitting there watching a ticker.
Yeah.
And that's not
so
me.
Pull this chart up, and it illustrates what Just Another Hedge Fund is talking about.
Hedge fund is the hedge fund. It'll be the only hedge fund still going. And
Just as soon as I wipe out Jake's short shack.
That's right.
no, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's. I think Matt must have stepped away for a second, man. But I've got the chart for 1 day's trading of Bitcoin, and Musk. Yeah, so it. So here we go. So this is 1 day, the price of Bitcoin. Okay, so it was trading at at about $32,000 a Bitcoin, and right about here, Elon Musk sent a tweet, and it went to here. Okay,
he sent it up $6,000 just from one tweet.
with a tweet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, he
That
almost
guy-
crashed his own company with a tweet as well, if you guys remember.
Yeah,
I do remember that.
he's done that a few times. He almost did it when he smoked a joint on Rogan.
Yep.
Remember that?
And one time he tweeted something about how long he thought it would take for his company to one company to be, or something to be publicly traded, or it wouldn't be publicly traded anymore. He was going to buy all the shares back, and the SEC just about came down on him for that.
Yeah.
For disclosing information that that should not have been disclosed publicly.
Dude, we live in fucking crazy times right now, man.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, but this is a month of Bitcoin. Only 1 month.
Yeah.
It's down to like 28,000. It was up to 40, and it closed out today around 34. To Redshirt's point, this is fucking insane volatility.
Yeah.
100%.
Which is why I like cashed out, because I was like, it was under 10 like a few weeks ago. So I'm like, well, I might as well just make my money now. But obviously that's why you never really know. I probably should have kept it in though, because it wasn't like I needed the money. Now I need the money.
It's like,
and I was
but
like,
think about it. Think about it. If you look at Bitcoin here from April to now that's November to January into mid-January probably. So if you can imagine not sleeping much between mid-December and mid-January, so that you're going from that little under 20 grand up to over 40, and you're like, okay, if it comes down out of 40, I'm out, and you're just watching, and you're just literally watching it go up, and you've had to get through a couple of dips in there, so you're like, and then it goes back up. At some point, you in this area here, you've got to be able to get out in a day or so to even be able to think about cashing out that difference.
And my buddy was saying that there were legitimate financial institutions that were projecting that it was going to go up to 100K. So when you hear shit like that, it's like, well, maybe I shouldn't go out. Maybe I could become a millionaire. It's like,
right.
Yeah.
And that's the danger when you start thinking, maybe I can become a millionaire with this trade.
Oh, wow.
That is okay. We had my parents. This is from when I was very young. I don't know any details, but this guy was a stockbroker. So he was ostensibly somebody who was very familiar with the market, and he lived a very good life. My parents lived in a nice house, 2 cars, but it was a manual lawnmower, not a self-propelled, and they had a boy to mow the lawn. That was me. Okay, slave labor. This guy had a landscaping company that would show up. He had an in-ground pool behind his house with a nice slide. We went over there, and I enjoyed swimming in the pool and all of this. They had a really nice house, really nice. They used to go on very nice vacations. My parents used to talk about enviously. And then one day, I overheard my parents talking. They were gone. And I mean, the house was sold. They had to move, and they were bankrupt. And apparently he was trading with his own money in the market, basically through the same mechanisms that he was using to do the company trades. Now, he wasn't trading the company's money. That would have put him in prison. He just bankrupted himself. What he started to do was to do leveraged investments, which means he borrowed money to make the investment. Now, the bet here
is like a loan shark. He went to a loan shark and went to the casino.
He's going, exactly. He is borrowing money from a loan shark to go to a casino and betting he can make more at craps than he will owe the loan shark in a week. And that is almost exactly what this guy started doing. Apparently he made a really bad investment, and
like shorting GameStop. Is that what he did?
Yeah, like shorting GameStop, but with Foulball Productions money. So if you had borrowed the money from Foulball to do this deal or whatever, it is so easy to get sucked in. It's one of the reasons that I know.
Did you see this?
Everything I do overdo. What's that?
Did you see Eric K's thing where he says, don't feel bad about that. My dad, when Tesla first went public, he bought 15,000. I thought I said 1,500. 15,000 shares of Tesla. Was afraid it might go down when the big car companies were trying to kill Tesla.
Can you imagine?
Sold them all.
Oh, my God. Yeah. That's like having bought 15,000 shares of Microsoft in 1978 and selling them in 1979 or 80.
Yep.
Oh, that's brutal. That's a rough one. That's a rough one.
So I know everything I get into, I overdo. I go crazy with it at first. And if I got into day trading, I would go crazy. And there's a very good chance I could lose everything I have worked all of my life for doing that, playing in the stock market, because I know better than to go to a casino. I learned my lesson. Luckily, it didn't cost me a great deal to learn the lesson, but I learned my lesson. I am not a gambler, and I will not gamble in a casino with money that I would like to spend on dinner instead, never mind on my next mortgage payment.
You know who I saw is a pretty decent gambler is Eric K. I was at the tables with Eric K. I didn't see him lose. We played poker, we played blackjack, we played craps, and he won at every game.
I was at a.
He was killing it at craps. It was like a movie.
My singing group I was in college did a set to for a charity casino night to open up the whole thing and attract people to the charity casino. And they gave, instead of paying us our normal set fee, they gave each of the singers in the group, let me see, I think it was $35 in chips for the charity casino. So, okay, I can gamble with $35 in chips. I went to the blackjack table, which had a $5 minimum bet, and 7 hands later, I went home.
Yeah, that'll do that.
And that was my night at the casino with 7 hands.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
last time I was there, like I didn't even know what the fuck I was doing. Like I was when I thought about it, I was like, why didn't you just? Because what I did was after I left, I like got like an app and started like down and playing like video blackjack so that I understood like the concepts. So I'm like, why didn't I do that before I went and put all this money on tables?
right, real money, damn it.
Yeah, I could have at least understood how the games work. It didn't even occur to me until afterwards.
Yeah.
The thing was, gambling, while it is stupid, I didn't even understand the appeal of it until I won a few hands. I was like, oh, I get it.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? I was like, this is so dumb because there was so many times I gambled. I'm like, I'm just giving away my money. Why? I had the money. Now I don't. This is stupid. But like when you're up and you're like, oh, like that high hits you. I'm like, oh, I get it now. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And day trading can do that. And it's dangerous because it's one thing if you lose, you win a little and you lose a little and you kind of get the lay of it and you decide, okay, what do I really want to do with this? But if you do well to begin with, or you get lucky, God help you, to begin with,
sure,
and you basically get in you take a position that's a problem, and that's not that hard to do. Because you just have an account, you have a trading account, you have to feed it money so that you can take your same thing that Robinhood is in trouble for right now. They're borrowing money for. They won't let you start trading on one of these things with no money. Let me put it this way: if they're smart, they won't.
Right, Eric K. You didn't see my best run. My best run was after I left you. I went back to the Luxor where I was staying, and I just started playing blackjack and won like $200. Like I just was from like a total fool. All of a sudden, I just couldn't lose, and so that I was like, oh, I get it. You know what I mean? Like I was making stupid hitting on the wrong time. It was still working out. So yeah, that's when I felt the hit. I was like took my first hit and I was like, oh, I get it now. Now I understand. Yeah. This is fun.
Yeah.
I was wondering, boys, if we could just moving right along. Did you guys watch the most recent episode of WandaVision? Did you watch
I did.
I watched about a half of it and I'd love to talk about it.
I would love to as well. So
the only person who hasn't seen it.
Okay. Did you watch last week's?
I did see last week's. I did not see this week's.
We could try to avoid that as much as we can if you want. I don't mind. I mean, the only thing I wanted to say about that episode was it was interesting to see this angle on that story. Well, I don't want to spoil too much, but it was interesting to see that. And Kat Dennings was insufferable. She was.
I now know what everybody was talking about on Friday Night Tights.
Me too.
With her, yes. And I'm sorry, but the rack does not make up for that voice.
No, that voice, and she's just so smart and better than everybody, and just knows all the things. Oh, I hated her. I didn't hate the show. I hated her.
That's the not a scientist chick from the Thor movies.
Totally.
Is that the one? Yeah,
that's the one.
So keep in mind, in the Thor movies, she was some random chick who got hired on to assist the real scientist.
I mean, she referred to herself as an astrophysicist in this episode. I don't know.
Yeah.
An astrophysicist. Really?
Oh, she did. That's absolutely.
No, I know she did. I was like, okay.
Yeah, but she wasn't an actual scientist in the Thor movies, unless I'm remembering completely wrong.
Just an assistant. You're right. Was she a student at least? Maybe that's the explanation. It's been years since the first Thor, so she's went to school since, and now she's I don't know.
I mean, it could be. It's reasonable. The timeline would work.
I have a question for everyone since I hadn't seen this episode. I know Resh only saw half of it. what is your climate on the show still? Because as of last week's episode, I started to cool down on it a little bit, and I think the real issue I see, and I saw some of this on Friday Night Tights. I tried to avoid a lot of it to avoid spoilers. I was working or whatever, but like their form of storytelling Disney has displayed thus far, it's just not. They're too stretched out. Like they seem like they don't really have enough story to fill up the space of story they want to fill up, if that makes sense.
So here's what I'll say about it. Here's what I'll say. For one, I think a lot of credit really needs to be given to the production team for their flawless recreation of these period shows, like down to like the set design, the costuming, the saturation of the colors. Like the 70s episode was a knockout of how good how much that looked like. Good.
I agree. The aesthetics of the show is off the page, and
that really deserves a lot of credit because it has the feel of those shows, and it's like an instant nostalgia. It's amazing how they pulled that off. I will say though that the gimmick, I think by the third episode, I was kind of like, okay, can we just get into this? But then they start, like, I think they're doing a good job of blending in like whatever the outside world is in with these little sitcom-y plots. Like, I think if they had dragged out her trying to hide the pregnancy from the woman for like too much longer, it would have really gotten tedious. But I think they just nailed it. And the creepiness factor again of like whatever the outside forces are like slowly encroaching on this world, I really feel like they're doing a good job. I honestly get chills watching it because it's like that creepy, eerie feeling. Like it makes me like, So I think while that's like, and then Jeremy, from Geeks and Gamers pointed out that the intersectionalism is starting to ramp up, and I think he's 100% right. Like the stuff with like the doctor, where it's just like, I try to tell them it's like a fruit, so I keep it simple for them. Like, women.
Yeah.
So it's like a little bit of that.
That's been bothering me since the first episode. And I think even you talked about it. I talked about it on my podcast. Like the idea, because they're almost trying to like subtly say, "Oh, it's so sexist." That Wanda just wants to be a housewife. And it's like the idea that a woman wanting a husband and a child, basically human procreation, is sexist, shows you how far, just in general, not just outside this show, but just in general, how far they've pushed the culture to where we're watching it through their eyes. Like, oh man, is that like, no, it's
actually even further than that. It's like, oh, what an archaic way of thinking. Like, it's not even like breaking those tropes. It's like, even if you even had the audacity to think that, like, how dated. Yeah. It's like,
so outdated. That's how humans got here. So I'm not sure how outdated it is. That's why anyone exists.
Well, but okay. As far as the pacing goes, here's my feeling. I watched the whole first episode, and of course was quite confused. Listened to a lot of reviews. Got to better understanding of it. Okay, now I think I understand why it looked the way it did, and I know roughly, kind of roughly, who these two main characters are, Wanda and Vision.
Right.
Watched this afternoon, I was going to binge the rest of the episodes, and I started episode 2, and I got to where Wanda and the neighbor are about to go into a house down the street, and I went, I'm sorry. This is a recreation of a 1960s sitcom, and it's not working for me. It's just not working for me. I understand this is a stage setting. I understand this is a fantasy world. Even if it's just a flower or a this or the helicopter was one thing. That's the only thing that was out of place. And now I know what that, sort of what that was. There wasn't enough of the glitches, the weirdness for Wanda to deal with. So I understand that Wanda has to keep managing, all of this. It was too well. She was managing it too well in the first part of the second episode. And I'm I'm waiting for something to trip her up, and it's not happening. So then other things intervened today, and I couldn't watch the rest of the episodes. Sure. And just before this, The reason that I was on the chat about 15 minutes after you started streaming because I watched half of the 4th episode and I finally went, okay, I've seen enough of the 4th episode to at least have something to say.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get on the I'm going to get over there on the stream and I got in the chat. I'm really glad I skipped. I will go back and watch them at some point, probably just to see if there was anything I did miss that would help me out and make me understand more about it. But I really think that I don't know how they could make this work as a story. So let's say that for starters. I don't know how you could keep an audience for 3 episodes or 2 episodes. If you compress the 3 episodes, 50s, 60s, 70s into 2 or something, where somehow after a commercial break, it changes. But if they'd done 2/3 of one episode and 1/3 the next decade, and then started the next episode in that decade and switched to the next decade, they wouldn't have spent as much time, even though these are short episodes. They wouldn't have spent as much time spinning these period pieces.
The way I look at it is I don't have any expectations for this show. Like I don't think any of us know what the MCU looks like anymore. So them taking a really bold stylistic choice like this and giving us something we've never seen, maybe ever, I really give a lot of credit just to the swing, just to like the strength of the throw, because it's like, wow, what a bold choice. And
I agree with that.
While it's not like necessarily got the pace and the excitement of something we're used to from Marvel, I think it's really intriguing. And I personally am really enjoying living in the mystery. Like in this 4th episode, they start to tell you what it is. And I was almost like, oh, I kind of wanted you to string that along for a while. While I understand most audiences probably wouldn't want that because it's Marvel and like, let's get to it already.
Wait. Did you say you just wanted them to keep it slow and make it last longer?
Kind of. Yeah. I really liked it. I like the idea of like this weird creepiness kind of like, because each episode I felt like the creepiness factor kept like rising. And I really liked that. I was like, what the hell is going on in this creepy world? And I really liked it. It threw me off and it made me like uncomfortable. I really appreciated the experience.
Oh, I enjoyed the shit out of the first 3 episodes experience. And I liked what we lived through here in the 4th episode. It's, you know, it was funny though. I was watching it with my girlfriend and the 4th episode ends and she just, that's it. Like that was like no hesitation, like just bam, first thing out of her mouth when episode 4 ends was, you know, because it was like, I don't know, 22, 23 minutes, some shit like that. You know, they're all really short.
They are.
Yeah.
And so she just, you know, like explodes with the, wait, that's it? Because it didn't feel to her like the episode was over.
So I kind of feel that way about all these episodes because they're so short. It almost feels like they just get through one situation and then the episode's over. Like whatever the main plot is, like whatever their main, at least relative to the sitcom thing. And I actually kind of want to clarify what I mean, or at least what I think about slowness, because I'm similar to you, Matt, where I like being in the eerie world. I think I even said like one of my biggest issues with the first 2 episodes, I like being in that weird 60s world so much, I almost didn't want to interrupt it. But even though I like the creepiness as well. But like when I say slow, I don't mind it being patient. I don't mind it taking its time, but I do mind it like artificially stretching.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. We were talking about that with the Expanse this season. It's like artificially elongated, and it's dragging. Whereas I don't think this is dragging because, like, I mean, I feel like the show is the reveal almost. So it's like if you're gonna reveal it right away, then you're just gonna skip what's fun about the show. I am having a lot of fun with the mystery of it. Like I don't want it spoiled yet. I really want to indulge in this mystery and like feel the creepiness and the walls closing in and like the weirdness, the kind of like elevating, like what the hell is going on? Real quick, want to say goodbye to Dan. Good to see you, buddy.
Good night, Dan.
Glad you made it, brother.
Thanks for hanging out with us. And yes, we will see you Tuesday night for the Expanse finale. And hopefully all our concerns will be dashed and they'll make it all work. I don't know how that's possible, but we'll see. But we'll see you Tuesday, Dan. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Sorry. Continue, gentlemen.
Eric K, I am also waiting for the honeymoon lingerie episode. I'm not sure.
No kidding.
What's
didn't know
up?
Unbeheld is also leaving us. Good night, my friend.
Oh man,
See you, brother.
You're on fire in the chat.
Yeah, man, fire.
Yeah.
Really good takes. Really like it, man. Thank you.
On the Wall Street bets thing, he was like, yeah, a lot to say on that.
He had a lot to say about
He had a lot of
Expanse.
really insightful things to say about that. Yeah.
Yeah, the Expanse too. I think he was kind of on the other side of the fence when we were talking on Tuesday, so it's nice to see like growth in thinking in the chat.
Yeah, I will say this: I'm not sure I enjoy their characterization of the 50s, the 60s, the 70s television as much. And as I said in one conversation, to me, it was a comment on Odin's review of the first episode. To me, it almost approached parody. It's a parody of it, and
a little bit, yeah.
In the sense that and I think that fits from everything I've been hearing from everybody. In that Wanda didn't grow up in the United States, so she didn't experience these TV tropes firsthand at the time. They percolated through to Eastern Europe, where she grew up, over many years later. And of course, Eastern Europe looked at America through rose-colored glasses. I mean,
sure.
They had the hope of what America represented and what their media told them America was, which was the communist propaganda. And there's a huge discrepancy between those two. So I understood that. I understand. Okay, this is a very artificial world, even more artificial than your average 1950s sitcom was.
Oh yeah.
Yes, but I was like, yeah, but I lived through the 60s and 70s sitcoms.
You know something? Just another red shirt. I would say this generation in general struggles with dealing with anything that didn't happen this past year.
Right. No, I agree. I understand that. I'm speaking only for myself and saying I remember how bad the 70s were. That's what I was watching Star Trek reruns.
Even when I've seen things cover like the 90s, it's like completely wrong. You know what I mean? There's a huge disconnect with this generation, especially with dealing with period pieces, regardless of the form of media, regardless of what you're talking about. It's just like they view all nostalgia like through like a weird lens. And I don't know if it's the internet's fault, or if it's just like a lazy people who don't do the research, or a combination of both. But there's just something wrong with every single thing that is period, whether it's 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s. It has
they lean into it a little hard. It's just kind of remember the 80s. Take like the glossiest parts of it. I don't think that's what's going on with this particular show. I didn't grow up, I didn't live through it. I mean, I grew up with these reruns as a kid. I watched the Brady Bunch, and I watched Bewitched and the Dick Van Dyke Show when I was a kid, because that was all on Nick at Night, but I didn't grow up with it. But I think there's a little bit of a wink implied with the way they're portraying it. But I don't think it's done disrespectfully. I mean, that's my opinion. I think it's handled with a degree of respect, and it's it's done with a bit of a little it's kind of funny, it's old, but it's, I don't know, I like the way they portray it myself.
I'm not saying they're portraying it badly. Okay. I'm saying that they're portraying it in a particular perspective on it.
Okay.
And to me, that's like when it's like when the I don't know, when a movie projector gets slightly out of sync and it starts jumping.
Oh, I think that was very intentional.
It isn't. Oh no, I get it, but you have to understand. I mean, like I said, to me, this wasn't Nick at Night. This was all I got to watch. At 7:00 on a Thursday or something. So, and I didn't much care for most of these shows. By the way, by the time I was out of high school, you couldn't have paid me to watch The Partridge Family, The Brady Bunch, and several other shows in the 70s. Okay. Sure. Because I went, these are bleh. I was watching The Prisoner and going, this is good. This is really cool television. This is what, and this is 10 years old at that time.
Sure.
I was watching Star Trek. 10 years old or more at that time. So it's just, to me, it's like I understand. Okay, I guess I'll put it this way. I got it in episode 1. I got it. Okay. So to do 2 more whole episodes in 2 more different decades, I was like, unless you're going to start moving this story forward a lot more than you did or have been, I don't see the point in reminiscing the television, a perspective on that era of television. Yeah. I just personally got tired of it. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying they didn't do it well. And you can enjoy that pacing and love going back to that and have the nostalgia and everything else. And that's why I started the 4th episode and I had to restart it. I was like, holy crap, how'd we get here? And I had to start it over and watch the very beginning again.
And I honestly thought, with that reveal that they give, what's going on, I thought it was pretty bold, and it was, I don't love Endgame. I kind of shared Ryan Cannell's feelings on it. Like, the more time goes by, I think the less good it really is. But it's I like that the earmuffs vigilante. But I like that they show all the people just popping back into reality and it's utter chaos. They did kind of jump in time a little quick for me, where I was just kind of like, wait, so everything's back in order, I guess. Okay. But I like the idea that they kind of started to show what this WandaVision world is, how it fits into the overall story. I got to say, for what it is, for what they had to work with, I think it's a pretty elegant and unique take in this world, and I just give a lot of points for style, so maybe too many, but I find it very compelling. I also don't feel like I don't have anything attached to it. It's because it's not like when I'm watching The Expanse and there's flaws, I'm going over it with a fucking magnifying glass, what the hell. With this one, I'm just kind of well, this is fun. This is I didn't expect this, and I'm enjoying it. That's about as much as I have invested in it. But I like it. I think it's fun, and I'm really enjoying Paul Bettany and what's her face. What's that?
Am I good to come back? I literally did take my headphones off for a minute.
Oh, okay.
I think you're good. Yeah.
I am back.
Yeah, Bettany and Olsen are really good together.
They are.
They have a real chemistry.
Yes, absolutely, they do. And it really helps the show, obviously. Your leads have got to have good chemistry.
Without it.
Totally. And I was thinking, too, there's something I really like about Olsen's, I guess, her portrayal of the character. Because I was thinking back to something I really didn't like in Infinity War, was when we meet her and Vision in, whatever country they're in. And she has, that, hipster hat on, and she just looks like Olsen. She just looks like the actress. She doesn't look like you know what I mean? I was just it irked me. It's just so fucking Hollywood. I really didn't care for it. And so it's nice to see her in this sort of these interesting costumes and really living into the character of Scarlet Witch instead of just playing a version of herself, in where the fuck they were supposed to be.
I think she's, to me, she's doing a great job. This feels like a star-making vehicle. I feel a month and a half ago, I didn't never would have considered Elizabeth Olsen anywhere in the top, A, B, E list. I mean, she was just another actress.
Yep.
And now it feels like she's a star all of a sudden.
She's handling it really well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the whole cast is honestly really good.
Yeah, it is. I mean, at least from what I've seen, I'm not sure about this episode.
Dude, I love Agnes.
I love her. Han, what's her name? Something Leslie Hahn, or what's her name? Catherine Hahn. She's great. She's hilarious.
She's incredible.
I will. Sorry, go on if he does, because I want to say, I don't know, because this is something that comes out of this new episode, Vito, so you haven't seen it, but there is a very unfortunate tie-in, and it seems to be a tie-in with Captain Marvel's universe.
Well, I knew Geraldine is Monica Rambeau,
and she becomes Monica Rambeau again, and it's
I have to check it out.
Yeah, it's hard to overlook the fact that it is an intersectional, because it's the mom was in charge of Sword or whatever, and now like she's the acting. You know, it was all these things where you're like,
Well, she wasn't acting anything. The dude was the director.
but like she was before she disappeared or something.
No, the mom was in charge.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It was the mom. Yeah. Okay. That's true. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. It was the mom. And then it was, yeah, I mean, it was good but then it was like, you know, she told him that, oh, you're grounded. Like you can't go anywhere. And then, but that order came from the mom and it was like, well, then it's acceptable to take because it came from the mom. I was like, okay. Like it all, like it's little things, like nothing is really egregious or glaring, but it's just kind of like your radar goes off a little bit. Like,
but I mean, you know something? That's another Disney trope. Honestly, the whole Mandalorian, both seasons, and they all have these little small jabs of intersectionality. Sometimes you get Sasha Banks throwing Boba Fett through a table, but most of the time it's just subtle little things. And I do notice it, and it kind of irks me. You know what I mean? I guess I should appreciate that it's not super blatant, but again, that's them pushing the culture too far. It's like, hey, at least it's just slightly intersectional.
Hey, there's only a little bit of lecturing.
Yeah,
in this. It's not so bad.
That's very
yeah. I think the question is, does it break the character, break the fourth wall? Does it take you out of the story? Yes, to me that's the distinction. It's not whether it's small, because you can do small things that are still like in an otherwise black and white first episode of WandaVision. There's a red light on the toaster. That's small because it's just a tiny little glowing red light, but it's the only thing that isn't black and white in the entire episode. So by that, it's significant.
Well, what gets me is like we're so sharp and savvy to them. We're so onto them now that when we see any of it, we're like, we know where this is coming from. So it's attached to like a battleship. You know what I mean? Like it's just a light on the horizon, but we know what that light is.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you know, Stephen King. Stephen King is a writer I've read a whole bunch of stories from, and as far as I'm concerned, the man lost his mind in 2000 with the election of George W. Bush. And
Stand is ungodly awful.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but I remember in a number of his books, you know. He didn't automatically ascribe evil intent to one group just because of their politics. There was a thing about protesters at an abortion clinic, and I think it was in Thinner, and or it was Thinner or Insomnia, one of the two. And he didn't demonize the protesters. He could, you know, he gave you there were some human characteristics there. And there were some things that weren't very nice about the people who were trying to, you know, go into the abortion clinic and were having conflicts with the protesters. So it wasn't all one-sided. So I'm like, okay, that was even-handed. Give him that. After 2000, that's disappeared. And that's why I didn't watch the movie version of The Mist, for example. The Mist is a great, you know, it's a novella. I've actually been to the town in Maine where the story is set. It was really eerie when I realized that I'd been there, and I'd been in the grocery store where most of the action in The Mist takes place.
Well then,
Bridgeton, Maine. I've been there many times. It's where I used to go deer hunting. And I'd been up there. It was probably the second or third year that I went up there, and I just decided to start reading The Mist again before we went up hunting, and I'm reading it again. And we're about to head out to Bridgeton in about 2 weeks, and I'm reading the story, and now all the place names hit me because now they're familiar. And I went, "Oh my God, I've been to this part of Maine." Anyway, he actually wrote an entire, I think it was an entire book on being a writer, on being a good writer
I read that
of fiction.
book, by the way.
Yeah,
great book.
And he talked about not letting the author's voice, not having the reader hear the author's voice. Okay, your voice as the writer can't be audible to the reader. You've got to tell them a story. The story has to be what they see and hear.
Yeah.
You are not what they have to see and hear. And after a certain point in time, some people have ascribed it to when he was almost killed in a being hit by a van while walking along the road. Yeah. Or after the election. I don't know what it was, but something changed his attitude, and he decided that he could no longer just write stories. And it's really obvious. Now, his politics and his worldview were in all of his stories, but they didn't break the story.
There's ways to do
not
it.
at all, man. Like, you go back to Salem's Lot.
Yep.
And what a great little novel that is. I mean, it's not like overly voluminous like The Stand or a lot of his later stuff. It's something you can pick up and read in a week. And that's a great story, man. I didn't read that until after I had finished the Dark Tower saga, because they tied the priest from Salem's Lot into the Dark Tower. Oh, and that little accident where he almost got his ass killed by getting hit by a van down by the river. That was also a major event in the Dark Tower saga.
What the hell's with vans down by the river? Is that like a trope?
I guess. I don't know. I mean, I just know from Matt Foley, but
yeah, me too. But apparently it's now Batwoman, and apparently it's Stephen King.
Well, you know.
I know where Stephen King's accident occurred. It wasn't down by a river.
He was just saying that for the chuckle value.
It was. Yeah, it is funny. It is funny, but yeah, it wasn't part of that trope.
But I want to say to your greater point, Red Shirt, is just I think it's a few things, right? I think it's partially echo chamber. Like I really think that's a big part of it. You know, like I would sit in my acting classes or whatever, and I you know, didn't have like political convictions, especially not in line with the way the people around me did.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, it was a topic you couldn't avoid. But I would see them and they would just sit around and they would just agree with each other. Like nobody was challenging the foundations of the things. And then and then it becomes kind of the greater community, like people around me, even people I thought were reasonable. They would just come to me and just like with real, like, oh, don't you think this? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, what are the implications of that? Like, what if it did? And it was just, you could see like the fizzle, like they just wanted to be agreed with. And I think, you know, when you're, especially like the more you ascend and the more people yes you to death, and like the greater your echo chamber becomes, or the louder your echo chamber becomes, it makes it, I don't know, almost impossible for you to even conceive of ideas outside of your comfort zone. And I have to believe that that's a big part of why this is so prevalent and omnipresent, because it's relentless and it's everywhere. And it's like, it can't be that they're right. Like, because
obviously not, because there's so many things that they're so wrong on.
And yeah, and a lot of them are just opinion or where you're standing or just kind of objective. Like it's not, I mean, subjective things. There is no universal right and wrong with the things they're trying to push. So I gotta believe that's where it comes from, because where else could it come from? How could all these people be so unified with this like belief that you're like, all right, there's a lot of problems with what you're saying. It's like, well, if you say that, then there's a problem with you. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But I mean, it's in storytelling. The only point I was trying to make is it can be an undercurrent the whole way through a story, as long as it stays under the story. It may be something they hope you figure out from reading it, right? Because there's plenty of those. Rod Serling did that with The Twilight Zone all the time in the 60s.
Totally.
Okay. Rod Serling was preaching. He was telling morality tales, but they were in the context of a story that you didn't have to see the morality tale, because he never came out, almost never. Occasionally he just couldn't resist and came out and said something. I think one of the examples of that is The Obsolete Man with Burgess Meredith, the guy who is a librarian and they don't need him anymore.
There's something.
Okay, that was on the nose. I mean, that was so on the nose, and even Serling's voiceover, his intro was on the nose. But most of the time it wasn't. You were expected to be given a new perspective on the thing by the way the story went. 2 examples. One is the woman who's got bandages around her head.
Oh, yeah.
And you never see the medicals team, and they're telling her that she'll be her. She's hoping, will I be beautiful? Will I be like everyone else? And you're making assumptions already when you're watching this. Okay, she's disfigured, and they're trying to help her, and they take the gauze off, and she's beautiful. She's a beautiful blonde young woman.
Did you ever see the SNL skit about that one?
No.
It's so funny. So they do it all the same way, and it's like, I think it's like Will Ferrell was in it, and then they unwrap her, and they're just like, "Whoa, she's hot." They're like, "You could be a freak in this world." It's like, yeah, she's hot.
Yeah, but the thing is that you don't have to be beaten over the head with beauty is a subjective thing society decides on. When all of a sudden you thought you were identifying with the shadowy medical team, they take the bandages off, and for the rest of the episode, you are on her side.
Totally.
Right.
Yep.
So there is a bang you over the head with the message, but I didn't say anything explicitly.
Right.
Right.
It's not even banging you over the head, because it's something that's obvious. Like, it's like, or not obvious, but like, big. It's like, if I were to just go on here for 4 hours and just tell you why war is bad, you'd be like, all right, we get it. Shut up, asshole. But you could do the same thing while watching Lord of the Rings and fucking love it. You know what I mean? But like, at the end of the day, it's kind of an anti-war film. So it's like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like that, but it's a difference in the elegance of how you get across your message or your point of view. It's like, if you're just going to say it, no one's going to listen to you. Ugh.
Yeah. But one of my favorite Doctor Who, one of my favorite Peter Capaldi episodes. But yep.
Before we get into that, I just want to take the opportunity to let JakeD take off.
Oh. Yep.
He's got to call it a night.
It's after 1 a.m. By God, I'm beat.
No problem, man.
All good.
Oh, man. But thank you so much for having me on tonight. Matt, just another red shirt. So good to stream with you. V-Dub, I can never get enough streaming time with you, my man. For real. Like, you guys, and, God bless him, Lord Thoth, who was with us earlier. And I'm probably forgetting somebody, but because it's 1 a.m. and I'm a little punch drunk at this point. But and the guys in the chat, what have you? I mean, like, you guys are like so much fun to spend time with, and seeing the chat, running back and forth with y'all, man. It's just some of my favorite times of any given week, and I wouldn't give it up for anything, man. Man, thank you for hosting us tonight.
You are very welcome.
Just another red shirt, V-Dubs.
JakeD, it's always a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much for popping in. And everyone who's watching, make sure you subscribe over to JakeD's channel. I think you'll find us all over there on occasion. Jake puts out some great content. If you want to hate watch The Stand with him, I think that's a good
oh, God. That show is so fucking bad.
You'll get some passion. So yeah, go give Jake a sub. He's a good dude. And thanks a lot, man. Thanks for coming on.
All righty. Thanks, everybody.
All right, brother. Be well. Oh shit. Sorry.
Sorry.
That's okay. No, I'll shorten this. Everybody says in television and movies, it should be show, don't tell.
100%. That is
okay. You can show a strong female character, and people will understand. Yes, women can be just as strong and powerful and capable and what have you as men. That's different from, are you thinking? River song to the Doctor. Are you thinking? It looks terrible on you. Stop it. I'm like, okay, why don't you just figure out the solution and have him stand there with his jaw down and go, I didn't know you could do things like that. That would have been more effective. That would have shown it. But no, they just have to have her make a snide remark.
The worst thing about a lot of this stuff, it's kind of like the fat positivity movement. It's like you end up having to be like the person who's a reasonable human being has to end up saying very mean cruel things because it's like you force me into this corner where you're not playing by the rules of reality, and now I've got to say really blunt truths because you're the one who won't play by the rules of the real world, and so now I've got to say like really like you come off like a fucking raging misogynist, but it's like I'm not. You're just playing with total bullshit, and I'm trying to ground this in reality. You know what I mean? It's like.
But you know something? Like this kind of goes back to the same point. You're not a raging misogynist. They've pushed things so far that like basic, simple things are now misogynist or homophobic or racist or whatever. And it's just like it's insane.
It's insane, and it's frustrating because it's like they've just run with the ball so far the other way that anything like even resembling going back to normalcy is like it's like this horrifying thing. It's like. I'm just trying to be reasonable. I'm just trying to deal with the world and the thing about it is it's like I think I talked about this. One of my first things I ever streamed was like no one has a problem with female or diversity quote representation. Really, we don't. Like no one ever thought about that shit when you watch like Blade or Aliens or fill in the blank, whatever example you want to use. No one ever was just like, well, I liked it, but I didn't like that the Asian guy was in the lead movie. Like no one would say that. Like I mean, unless you're like a real hardcore piece of shit, but then you're so fringe, you don't even matter. So it's like we don't have a problem with that. What we have a problem with is like the agenda, the representation of reality, not as it exists, just in this sort of weird vain, ego trip fantasy that you're putting out there. That's what people don't respond to. And that's what people are never going to enjoy. And it's weird to me because I honestly felt like the ship was steering back a little more towards the center. And now there's so much stuff out there where I'm like, no, it's all too far gone. Like it can't go back. It's over the cliff and we're all doomed. We're going down with the boat because I just see it seems to be ever present. I don't see any examples of it outside of like, this platform where you see anything that isn't like down that road.
I agree with that, but like, I think the answer is just like standing still and letting them fly, because the further they fly in that direction, the more obvious things like that don't matter. You brought up the fat positivity thing, right? This is a little bit off topic from writing and stuff, and I hate to get political, even though I say that all the damn time, right? But like the Biden, the first day he got in office, he did the thing with women's sports. That's an example of like things going so far that even people who may have been, with even someone who's a feminist may say, "Whoa, this is stupid." You know what I mean? And so you just need things like that to happen for them to realize, hey, our ideology is kind of insane. And so that's the hope, that they realize that they've gone too far. And I honestly will go kind of a step further. You said we don't care about a lot of representation. The ironic thing is now I'm starting to. Anytime I see somebody that you worry about like a trope. You worry about
the sin of it. That's the biggest sin. Is as soon as I see like a black male lead or I'm like, oh fuck, this is gonna. And that's like,
and I'm a black person now. I'm wondering. I'm like, oh my god, here we go.
Right? Like it's like, what are you doing to me? Like I'm not like I don't want to have to think that. But the thing is, it becomes so like universal, and it's like this postulating, like giving these platforms, and it's like I have a very diverse like library of things that I enjoy and stories that I like watching. It's like the idea that like now you're turning me off to that. It's like, that's not on me, man. Like it's completely 100% on you.
Yeah. I think to kind of tie it into the Wall Street bets, Hollywood was completely arrogant, and they just, anything we do is successful. We're Hollywood. We tell them what to like. And they just assumed that everyone's going to like everything. And really, it's really simple. I talked about talking with my mom the other day, and she just said, all these movies suck. She doesn't know it's intersectional. She doesn't know all that stuff. She just knows it's not good. That's it.
Just like my mom. It's so funny. It's just like my mom.
Yeah. She's like, everything just sucks. I was watching the Return of the Jedi. And then we were watching Solo because I was just talking to her, and we were just talking about how stupid it is. And then she was like, everything just sucks. So it was just like she saw an old movie the day before and then just saw like new Star Wars, and it was just like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean?
It's like she doesn't quite know why. They just don't enjoy it. It's like we've been onto this for a while because of how much, how passionate we are about it. And, listening to guys like, like the guys in the Phantom Menace and stuff who really are able to break it down, put it out there on a billboard for us to look at. But it's like people are feeling it. They just aren't as articulate as to what is bugging them, but they know it's wrong. They know they're being fucked with.
Yep.
Yeah. The Last Jedi is happening more often because The Last Jedi was something where a lot of normies got it, but they got it for that and went back to whatever. But now it's so much like every time they turn on the TV, they see a new version of The Last Jedi on something they used to watch, and they're like, what is going on?
Well, and that's kind of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Retro.
That's all right. Well, you mentioned the echo chamber effect, and with what Vigilante Williamson has been talking about, where even the normies were getting it. I'm trying to remember how long I've been watching YouTube, or how long people have been making YouTube videos about the discrepancy between Access Media reviews on Rotten Tomatoes and viewer reviews. The 82% for fresh to 82% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's got a 13 or 25% rating from the public.
It's so funny.
That's the echo chamber telling them, "You go, girl. This is awesome." And all of the people who are watching it are going, "This is crap."
Totally. It's so funny too. It's these things that worked like universally, whether it be Star Wars or Marvel. It's like these things that they work so well. Rotten Tomatoes is a great example. That was an awesome website before it became an agenda platform. It was like an aggregate of all these critic. You're like, oh, this is a really helpful way to gauge whether a movie's good, and then and they can't help themselves and they go and fuck it up. It's like you have this money printer in the MCU and just making awesome content, and they just can't help themselves but to go get their greedy little fingers in there and fuck it all up and ruin it. And it's like it's so consistent. It's such a routine kind of thing. I did want to shift if you guys will indulge me to Star Wars, because I was listening to the guys on FNT talk about that tonight, and the thing that kind of it was kind of like what Vigilante Williamson said. It was like, why the fuck did you guys buy it when they gave you token representation of Luke in this average show? And I don't mean you guys, I mean the greater, why were you so easily duped? I mean, I think it was the Robot Head said it was just one scene. It wasn't even a whole episode. I'm like, yeah, you guys were all back in. It's like, why?
All right. Okay. I was on a stream with Vigilante Williamson about a month ago, just after the last episode aired on JakeD's channel.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, I was the optimist at the time.
Okay.
And Vigilante Williamson was the one who was I thought it sucked. It was terrible. I gave it a 0 or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. I was arguing at the time, Disney. They're asking me, do you really think Disney learned from this? I said, it actually doesn't matter whether Disney has learned from this. Disney has come to a fork in the road. They're either going to learn from this, they're going to say, this is the way to make money. They're going to follow Favreau's vision. They're going to move that direction, or they're going to go out of business. Those are their two options. There isn't a third way anymore.
Right.
And I was not convinced they would learn. I hoped. Now, I'm not thinking, hope's not a strategy, so I didn't hold out a lot of hope. Vigilante Williamson was convinced we're already doomed. It's already screwed. I was like, well, there's one small possible way they could dig their way out of this hole. So I said tonight, as a comment on FNT, Favreau threw Disney a lifeline.
Yep.
What did Disney do with it? Within weeks, they set fire to it.
Not within weeks. Every fucking week.
Yeah.
Since that happened, it's been a new thing. Literally, I am not exaggerating.
Yes.
First week was Pablo Hidalgo.
Yep.
Next week it was Justina Ireland. The next week it was Christina Ariel. The next week is this week. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm done. I'm like, okay, Disney, I know which fork in the road, which side of the fork you've taken.
Well, it's
Bye
like,
now.
It's like what I said. It's like they can't help. It's like they get this winner in the Mandalorian. It gets all this good faith back, and they're like, okay, great. Now we can get right back on with the program. It's like you learned.
It justifies everything we've done. No, it doesn't.
It's like you learned absolutely nothing. Like everything that you put into this, all like making the agenda and all that stuff, like that didn't work. The one thing that was outside of that did, and now you learn nothing, and you're just going to go back to like doubling down on your agenda. It's just like, holy shit! Like, what is it going to take for you guys to understand?
I almost think that a lot of this is spite. I don't think it's just they learn nothing. I think because of the way corporations are, a lot of these people, especially these High Republic, this group of High Republic, this clique inside of this Disney and Lucasfilm, this offshoot of that story group. Yeah. I think a lot of this stuff is intentional after The Mandalorian, because these people, they're not going to lose their jobs. So they have no problem talking, as much crap as possible. Like they are more than comfortable with destroying all the goodwill for Disney because white man bad, Luke's a white man, he's bad.
Yep.
And that's it. And it's like, okay, cool. You know what? As this black lifelong Star Wars fan whose parents got him into Star Wars, I know that's crazy to think that somebody, black people in the 70s and the 80s actually could watch a movie that didn't have the represent. Oh, actually, they were represented because fucking Lando Calrissian, but that's neither here nor there. But as that black man, I'm done. I'm basically done with Disney. I'm covering WandaVision, but it's just like, I'm so beyond sick of this shit. Because as a fan, I do appreciate some escapism. And if you're just going to just completely say, no, we're never going to give you escapism. Right. And even when you serve up on a platter, like how easy is it to just shut the fuck up?
I don't get it. It's like they just will not let go. And it's like, what, why?
We still had a bunch of woke books. Everything they made could have been woke and garbage. We would say, oh, it's just the Kathleen Kennedy woke garbage section. Yeah. We would have gotten over it and just, it'd have been Snowflake and safe space, and we would have went on with our day.
It's but so arrogant.
They have a ton of arrogance. That's exactly the word I would use.
I went to school with a lot of those people, and they still are arrogant.
Yeah, arrogant. And like, it's like they won't even have like a brand. Like you could have like a woke brand and like a, whatever, a normal brand. They won't even brand it. Like they won't even separate that. Like it's all got to be this blanket. And it's like you people who are pushing this so hard, you are sitting on top of the economic heap. Like you are the peak beneficiaries from all the things that you claim to be so evil. How on earth could you really believe this stuff in your bones? I just can't. I can't see how you'd want like this grand redistribution of wealth or whatever the hell it is you think you want. Like it doesn't align with the way you live your life. Like
they're stupid. They don't realize that.
They're stupid and they're arrogant because it's like all Hollywood talks about is inclusivity. I'm like, this is the most exclusive community on earth. It's not just money. You have to have all the right friends and say the right things and wear the right clothes and be in the right TV shows. And it's so exclusive. And you're talking about inclusivity? The audacity. There are so many like moats and walls keeping people out. There are people, before pandemic, there were people just getting off buses by the thousands, by the hundreds of thousands to try to be in their little club. And there are so many ways to keep people out. And they're going to preach to the rest of the world of inclusivity. Balls.
It's almost like private plane and talking about global warming. Oh, wait, they did that.
It's exactly right.
Flying 6,000 miles in your private jet to collect an award for environmentalism.
What? Nailed it.
That's nice work if you can get it.
Absolutely. Yeah, right. And I just think it's like, it really does, at this point, though, it falls on the fans. It's like, if you guys are still falling for it, that's on you. You know what I mean? You can't like it's the okie doke, man. They're just like they give you this, like, hey, and then pow, they pop you in the face. It's like you can't. We got to be smarter than this. We got to be tougher than this. We can't let our emotions get caught up, and like they're not going to relinquish this without a huge fight.
No, and that's why keep it Keep it. Take it. Take your toy. Go home. I don't care. I'm done.
That's me too. I'm like, just have it. I want you guys to like. I want them to go like woke as hard as they can. I want them to Batwoman the MCU and the Star Wars, so that it's like it becomes like just a rotten fruit that no one will purchase. So you're just like, okay, then we can finally get over this stuff.
Yep. We can move on.
Because the Heaven and Han is what's dragging it out. It's like, this has got to go. So how long is it going to take? When is it going to go?
Well, there's a lot of ruin, in a country, as the expression goes. There's a lot of ruin in a really big company too. Disney's huge.
Yeah, it is.
In that same conversation with Vigilante, I said something about, well, Disney could sell the Disney parks. And everybody went, oh, they can't sell the parks. They are what make Disney Disney. I said, my attitude now is what made Disney Disney is dead and buried.
I wonder what makes Disney Disney. I don't know what their money is, but I know that like Sony, I know that like one of their number one, like their biggest thing is like insurance. Like they sell like one of the biggest things that makes them money is insurance. So I don't know the Disney finances, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like that.
Well, Disney actually has made over the years a ton of money from the parks.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And of course, that was that was hit as hard or worse than any of their production houses. Okay. Because you could still do pre-production, post-production, a number of things, with social distancing, masking, and all that. But the parks, you have to get a zillion people into a small contained area at one time. That's not going to fly. But Disneyland hasn't been open in a year now.
Yeah.
Basically.
No, essentially.
Right. And and when I heard the first layoffs from, what was it? Geeky Sparkles there and whatever in Clownfish. Yes. I like they used to, I understand they used to work for Disney. So they're big on Disney news.
Oh.
And they said something like, the first round of layoffs was somewhere between 20 and 30,000 people. And I look back and I go, the town I went to high school in was 20,000 people. Wow. That's like laying off the whole town.
Damn. That's like in the 70s, like when a steel mill would go down.
Yeah. So Disney laid off a huge, and then there were several more that were multiple thousands of people. So I think they eventually topped out somewhere around 35 to 40,000 layoffs. And it was almost all park employees and performers and whatnot.
Sure.
So they pretty much depopulated the staffs of Disneyland, as I understand it. And I don't know, they took 6,000 or 8,000 people out of Disney World. Disney World is now operating at reduced capacity. JakeD was there last year. And they have a lot of operating costs they didn't have before because of the coof. Yeah. So that's not the money spinner it was. And Disneyland is a money pit.
I think Disney's a money pit because
it is now. Yes, it is now. But that's my point. What makes Disney Disney? What made Disney Disney was Imagineers.
Right.
That's what made Disney Disney. Not where did they make their money.
Right.
That they made their money on everything they did when the Imagineers were Imagineers and Roy Disney managed the books and Walt Disney managed the creative side and what the projects would be.
Because I'm thinking even about their future because it's like it's been talked about plenty, but where are they going to make their money with their next movies? It's like it's all going to be. It has to be streaming because that's like the only real option to make any money now, and that is not a lucrative option. Like in the same way, like a blockbuster film would be. It's like the return is not going to it can't be as big because like if you already have the subscription, like it just doesn't work to make that much money. So I just don't understand. Like, are they assuming that because we are all still just watching streaming services that will sign up for anything, or are they just so stupid that they can't learn from their mistakes and make like decent content?
No, I think they think they're going to make their money in China.
What did I think about China? I think
either.
And if the rumor I've heard starts to pan out, the rumor is that the next thing that they're going to go after, Disney's going to go after, is the reputation of Walt Disney, so that they can discount their entire old catalog.
What?
Why?
Because that doesn't fly in China. So that'll be the test. I think that's a test. This is like I said, watch what happens with The Mandalorian and where they go forward with Star Wars. They failed. Here's the test. Watch to see whether their focus goes to streaming, which will be worldwide, or whether their next project tries to become the next Mulan, which failed.
That thought, out of all the stuff we've talked about with Disney, and I'm not a diehard Disney fan. I mean, I grew up with them as anyone.
Sure. Yeah.
Out of all thoughts, that one made me like the sickest. The idea that Disney would just throw away, and I guess they already have for a lot of wokeness, but to just throw away all of your history just for a quick buck from China just seems like that. Like, you talk about selling your soul. I know people sold their soul to get to work for Disney. I get it, but it's just like, for fuck's sake, that's just like.
At least you could pretend, before that. Wow.
Yep. I mean, I'm not. You want to know how much of an optimist I'm not now about Disney and Star Wars and Lucasfilm? That's how pessimistic I am about Disney right now. I don't think they even want to be in this country, really. Wow. Honestly, I don't think they do.
Wow.
So we'll see,
nuts, man. Because that's like because they own entertainment. Like, they own Fox, they own Marvel, they own so much stuff. Where it's like, if they, that could be just the end of like entertainment, like mainstream entertainment.
You know what? I've been wondering that the past year. Like, is the modern entertainment industry just gonna die? And that's just how it is. They're just gonna go the way of the milkman. They're just gonna go the way of phone booths. That's just it. That
yeah.
Being a YouTube content creator could be a really sweet gig in the near future.
I absolutely think so. I've talked to my friends about that in the entertainment industry who are struggling, who aren't allowed to work because of like the way they were born. You know what I mean? Like, we're all outlawed.
Right.
But it's like, I wonder what the next thing is. And I definitely think, like, if you've got a prominent YouTube channel, like if Gary was committed to making like animated shorts or whatever, like he could generate such a large audience because of like his reach. And so I think of that as like one of the arms. But like, will we see like independent like animation studios? Like, is that the type of thing you think we could eventually see in the future? Like off, like separate, like not like, I don't know, just different avenues and access points for entertainment.
I think it could. I think actually Netflix has already done one. I mean, that model has already been experimented with, and I've talked with a few people about this. Nobody. I mean, it's old news now because it came out I think it was it came out in the spring of 2019. Was done by summer, and they announced there would be a season 2 of it by summer. This is called Love, Death, and Robots.
Oh, I love that thing.
Yeah. I loved it too. I've been all over that, and I actually told JakeD, if you ever find out that there's a firm commitment to when season 2 is going to drop, you need to start talking about that.
Oh, that's a great idea, because I've been into that. The second it came out, I watched it and I obsessed over it. And oddly enough, like all my friends found it like without us talking about it, and we all talked to it. We're like, "Oh, you saw that? Oh my god, that was so good!" It was so good.
Yeah. So here's what, as far as I know, Netflix did. They came up with a concept, here's some ideas we want you to talk about in this. We want this to be the theme. Get a story. Pitch us the story. We agree. You can go do this story. You do it with your animation style. You use your writers to write it. You produce it. Bring it to us. We will have a producer put them all together into a series. We'll put it on our streaming service. Cool. They're all different. And if somebody who's a small animation house is looking for a way to get their stuff out and Netflix doesn't want to talk to them, I don't know. Got a YouTuber that's got a couple of 100,000 to 1 million subscribers.
Right.
They might be willing to help you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because interesting thing about Netflix is like, I think they're a really powerful platform, but as far as I can tell, they've pretty much just like got in line, lockstep with what they're supposed to do as far as representation and politics. Like all their scripted content is pretty woke. I mean, most of it's like, I mean, most of it's like extremely woke, and a lot of it, some of it's like okay and passable. But then again, I will hear like comedians talking about their experiences with Netflix, and it sounds like there are people that work there that are really interested in making good stuff. And a great example is Andrew Schultz, a comedian who like he even talks shit about Netflix. He was saying how it's dead, and like because for comedy, because it doesn't open the door for interesting comics, and they're so obsessed with representation. And then he went off and made his own brand so strong and did a special with them like a few months ago, he said that like the people that he dealt with were so hospitable, and they gave him like such good insight, and they were really helpful, and like there wasn't a lot of bullshit. So it's like, I don't know, maybe it's not completely dead, but it just, I don't know. My perception is that just like pretty much anything industry is just kind of flat and tired and dead for now.
I've heard no say Netflix is dead.
What's that?
I don't think Netflix is dead. It's just that it's a hit or miss. Go ahead.
No, that was it. That was it. Just that I heard normal people say, "Hey, I don't really like Netflix as much," or "I don't really watch Netflix." I've heard that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. A lot of normies, like people. I think a lot of people's like frustrations with streaming content is it's like, and it's mine as well. Is like you turn it on, you're like, ugh, what am I gonna watch? Yeah, it feels like a chore to find something.
Yeah, the search or categories or sorting could be better. Some of them are better than others.
The licensing is shit. It's so scattered. Like it used to just be one, you used to go to Netflix, you catch up on Breaking Bad, catch up on this, it was like a single place to go watch content. There was always something, up and down. But now I don't know, like it does. If you don't already have like a target of what you're going to watch, turning on a streaming service to find something is like, ugh.
Yeah, there's only one left that I can think of where you can do that, and that's Amazon. Yeah, Prime's. And half the time it's free, and half the time you have to rent it. Yeah, it's true. And because even the content they host is not amazing when it comes to stuff that they didn't produce. Like their movies and stuff, they're okay, but they change a lot of turnover, not a lot of great stuff where it's like there's good shit on there. Like right now I'm watching The Tick. I started watching that on Gary's recommendation. That shit is hilarious. I don't know if you guys ever watched it, but it's really, really good. I haven't seen it.
Doc Coburn asks, you guys aren't woke? Nope. We're awake. We're not woke, my friend.
Yeah. We're not woke. I like that.
All right, boys. I am getting a little tired. I got to wake up early tomorrow. I'll go to the bakery. But it was a fucking pleasure streaming with you guys. Did you guys have anything you wanted to, any last points or topics you wanted to cover before we wrap it up?
I'm good. I'll just say thank you very much. I really appreciate any opportunity I get to come on. I appreciate coming on your channel, and I enjoy the conversations.
Fucking A, man. It's good to have you. I was excited to see you. Excited to see everybody. But it was fun to see, I was like, oh, cool. You guys are joining in. Because I saw you in the chat, and I was like, well, you guys can just fucking come in the stream if you want.
But you're talking about The Expanse, and I'm 4 seasons behind, so I'm just that's one I can't even begin to keep up.
Okay.
That's why. That's
all good. Well, I would just say savor the first 3 seasons because those are the
I'm enjoying those. Yeah, I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah, Eric K. I got a little sleepy. Got a little tired. I don't have the stamina of a Gary or a Doomcock just yet.
Yeah.
And nobody has the stamina of Eric K.
No, it is no. I got.
He's not worried about that omnipotence.
I was sleepless one night. I was like, I can't go to sleep. Why can't I go to sleep? It's 2:30 in the morning, and I see, there's a live stream going to start in 15 minutes. I click on the damn thing, get in the chat. Who do I see there? Eric K.
Eric K. Eric K.
Oh man, I'm like, Eric K. Do you ever sleep? He says sometimes.
I know you guys aren't going to get this, but Elvis's comment: The Expanse 509. Whiny pussyky. Yeah, exactly. That's fucking great stuff. And Vigilante, my good man, you want to sign off?
Yeah, just if you haven't subbed to me, please do. I'm at 184. So this is my new call to action because it worked on Comics Division stream. There are 10 people watching right now. If all 10 of you subbed, I would have 10 more subscribers. So please do. Please Vigilante Winston. I know obviously Eric K is subbed because he's everywhere. But everyone else, feel free to sub to me.
Sub over to Vigilante. He's a good dude. He makes good content. I'm there on occasion chatting about all kinds of shit. Vigilante is he's a wild man. He says what he thinks. He doesn't care about the repercussions, and I fucking love it.
Yeah,
you're the man. So give give Vigilante a sub if you haven't. Red Shirt, you don't have a channel yet, do you?
I have a channel, but I don't have anything on it.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that'll start. We plugged your Minds last time, so I'll put your Minds link in the chat again.
Oh, that's very kind of you. That's great.
Yeah. Good stuff. So
I do check that on a regular basis.
I haven't even opened it yet, so I'll have to get there at some point, but not just yet.
I mean, I like Minds. I kind of like the fact that there aren't that many people on it, which, you know, it's not really good for social media, but it's like all your friends are here. It's almost like your friends at the lunch table getting into the lunchroom before everyone else, sort of thing.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like we got the two big tables by the windows.
I like that a lot. That's great. And as for me, this is the MFer Cocktail Lounge. Gonna be doing this every Friday night, starting at 8 p.m. Pacific time. Kind of a follow up to FNT, not really, but kind of is. So come check us out. I'll be here every Friday night. Hopefully, have these awesome guys on there. And I'm gonna start after the Expanse is done to keep the routine going of having people check out the channel on Tuesday nights. I'm gonna be revitalizing my old show, Matt's Obscure Movie Recommendee Show, where I'm going to do live streams focusing on like lesser known movies and television that I really enjoy and hopefully will turn people onto and discuss passionately. So keep an eye out for that. And and here's a Red Shirt's Minds. I'll put that all in the description so you guys can check that all out. Thank you very much for joining me, gentlemen. Thank you for streaming with me. It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Hail Elvis, good to see you. Hail everyone that hung out with us. You guys are amazing, and we'll see you all on the next one. Have a great night.
All right. Peace.